All right, everyone, we got a second episode. Let's rock this. I'm your host, Kareem, with the Essential Libertarians, giving you the tools for self governance. And we got the awesome anarcho-schizoid Noah Starling. Noah, what is up?
I'm kind of nervous. This is my first live stream with someone on this app.
I think you'll do fine, and doing fine so far.
I agree.
Um, and you're not a statist, so you're good. You
Right.
don't believe it. You don't believe in the legitimacy of the state, or think taxation is necessary for a society. Which, hey, that's an awesome start. So I've been seeing a lot of like your posts. I've been seeing a lot of the posts that you liked that I was sharing around. I'm kind of curious to learn more about your background and how your journey about anarchism and things like that. I'd like to learn a little bit more because you seem to be open to a lot of different types of anarchy and a lot of different schools.
That's right. Well, I'd say it technically didn't start until 2020 when the pandemic, or as I like to call it, the plandemic started. But I was always into conspiracy theories growing up, such as fluoride in the drinking water being harmful and detrimental to society. And 9/11 was an inside job, chemtrails, all that good shit.
Yeah, all that good stuff. We'll ask you a tough question. Can elites shapeshift into lizards?
I don't think so. That's schizoid shit, ironically.
I I've been watching David Icke for a while. I know people say, well, he's crazy, but he did say Edward Heath when he was talking to him, his eyes would turn just like completely dark. And I've heard other people talk about crazy accounts of stuff. So I'm lending myself to believe there's some, let's say, supernatural metaphysical activity that the elites are doing that might not be within this realm. Can I
Are
prove
you
that?
talking
No.
about, sorry, are you talking about the dark occult shit that Mark Passio loves to talk about?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mark, I don't agree with Mark Passio on every single thing, but he's right about the most obvious psyops that so-called truthers and other libertarian and anarchists fall for, such as flat Earth being a
Yeah,
prime
yeah.
example.
I think there is a point. I think there's a point where you can go like QAnon and you can get so far into conspiracy theories that you're like, I don't know what's reality, and this dude's a clone, and everybody's a, and this is the, this dude's a clone, and you know, there's a special military operation somewhere to take out the deep state and all that. I guess makes people feel good, but is it, you know, actually based in reality? And we got to ask that question. And generally, a lot of times it's not. But yeah, Mark Passio does a great job of dissecting a lot of these hidden symbols, like what Freemasonry is it good or bad, which is good and bad. What are these specific occult things that the elites engage into. And I believe there's a lot of legitimacy to that. Is Mark Passio right about everything? No, no, I don't think he is. He doesn't like the hyphenated anarchy. He did like that, oh, if you have a hyphen, you're a fake anarchist, which I completely disagree with because my site's predicated on that. That being said, has he done good work on natural law? Has he done good work on um, the dark occult? And do I think if you're kind of getting into it and you've watched a bit of Alex Jones, is Mark Passio a good guy to look at? Yeah, I think so. I think he's done some good work. I think he's done some good work for freedom. That's where I stand on it.
Yeah. A lot of people love to say that Alex Jones is controlled opposition or a CIA agent, all this shit.
I'm fighting the globalists.
The Nazis hate him especially because he had a Jewish wife and has Jewish kids.
Yeah, I don't. I actually, I don't think he's controlled opposition. I think he pushes a lot of, how should I say it? Like, it's like when you watch some alternative media, it gets to be as bad as mainstream media, where they're like, the food supply will run out, the dollar's clashing tomorrow, everything's going, but I got this safety kit, and if you get my safety kit, you'll be good to go. I got you. I'm like, this seems like a little bit of a grift here, like, just on the apocalypse side. Now, Are they better than the mainstream, more accurate than the mainstream media? Of course. Do I think he's controlled opposition? No. Was I a fan of him supporting Trump? No. So that's where I
Good,
stand on it.
good thing he learned that Trump was a snake in the grass.
Yeah, I'm hoping he does because I still look on Infowars and they're like, you know what he said, and I'm like, isn't this like your boy Operation Warp Speed? And it's kind of weird to me that he did everything to help the deep state, and people are still like, well, Kareem, it's different this time. I'm like, how is it different this time? And then they come up with some weird excuse or some bull BS excuse like, oh well, it's different because whatever reason, and people play mental gymnastics, and that kind of gets old. Like when Trump when he started, when I looked at his cabinet, I'm like, this is all skull and bones, and this is all Goldman Sachs and the CFR, and these are all globalist institutions. People are like, oh, Kareem, but you need those guys on your side. If Hillary had done that, they're just like, well, that's Hillary, hiring the
Right.
deep state.
What's funny is that Wilbur Ross was a literal employee of the Rothschild Bank, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, Rothschilds, and who was he had another guy, Steve Mnuchin or whatever,
The
who
movie producer from Hollywood, yeah,
yeah, so he got literally people from Goldman Sachs, people from the Skull and Bones, people from the Rothschilds, people from who had worked with every globalist institution,
right.
and then people were like, well, oh no, he's just playing 3D chess, man. I'm like, no 3D chess. He's just this, like, at what point do you just say the dude's just a statist? Like, it's not that crazy to assume
Got to
that.
be careful with some left wing anarchists. They're going to accuse you of hating Jews because you use the term globalist. They think everything's a dog whistle because some of them are still trapped in the MSM matrix.
Well, yeah, I guess, but like, to me,
Well, I'm not
globalist is,
saying don't say it, but fuck them anyway.
yeah, I mean, to me, what these people are, like Klaus Schwab and all these things, is they want global control. They want to micromanage everything. They want global control of your everyday to day activities, and they say it. So you could use a term. Um, I heard like technocratic oligarchy, things like,
Technophile.
yeah, technophile. Like they want technology to, and I'm not against per se technology, but they want technology to run every app. Like, oh, we need faceless scanners, we need IDs for everything. And when people push back, they're like, okay, fine, we're not going to do it. Then they like try and introduce it in a cool new way. They're like, no, it's for fun. It's here. So that's where I get to like, okay, well, some of the conspiracy theory guys are right. I think Mark Passio has done some good, considerable work. Do I agree with everything? No. But
You know the Cannibal Corpse song Necropedophile? Some metal band should record a song about the WEF called Techno Pedophile.
yeah, or Epstein.
Yeah.
but but I'm interested in some of your takes as well. So a lot of people got into anarchy. I noticed either from Ron Paul or the conspiracy movement, or kind of both. And then they started going different ways. I've seen some people, go more to the left side, like ANCOMs or the syndicalist people, or you
Right.
know. And then I've also seen,
Reminds me. Noam Chomsky was a guest on Infowars during the Bush administration, which was
he
funny
was,
because Alex would invite leftists onto the show, but he doesn't do that anymore.
yeah, which is kind of a shame too. Because, but Noam Chomsky has said some very ridiculous things. Like he's kind of gone statist a little bit. Like what I
He
find
probably,
interesting, huh?
sorry if I keep interrupting. He probably already was always statist because he denied the Cambodian genocide.
Yeah, he denied the Khmer Rouge. He pushed for a medical procedure and said everyone ought to take it. And then there were a couple other things he said that were ridiculous. I know he's a Noam Chomsky's a hero among the left, and that's fine. I'm not going to tell anybody what to believe or not to believe, but I am going to say if a guy is sitting there and saying all these ridiculous things about what was going on in 2020 and also pushing some conspiracy. Now, has he done good work on the Middle East? Yes, he has. Has he called out a lot of bad things that have happened in the Middle East? Yes, he has. So I'll give credit where credit's due. I'm not going to throw it all out, but I don't think he's like this, you know, great revolutionary dude on the left. I think there are people who are much better. I think Jimmy Dore is better, and Jimmy Dore's not even a self-identified anarchist. So there you go.
Russell Brand identifies as an anarcho-syndicalist. He's much better than a modern Chomsky.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think Chomsky. I don't know. Um, I don't know why people I think find a lot of weird heroes.
He hung
Um,
out with Epstein, well knowing that he's a convicted sex offender, and he used the excuse, "Oh well, he paid his dues to society, so it's okay." Nah, anarcho-fake is just like Rage Against the Machine.
yeah, like oh hey, we're against the machine, but do what they say. If there's I'm like, what are you doing? So for me,
Also, also the band Pennywise played shows where they required proof of vaccination, yet they literally wrote a song called "Fuck Authority." Ironic.
yeah, like F authority, do what they yeah. There's a lot of punks who went, from literally F you, don't, F you won't do what you tell you. No, F you, do what they
Jello.
tell you. It's kind of sad. That's why I was like a fan of like, I started looking at other punks and somebody showed me this dude from the 90s. Yes, he was extremely crass and rude and did some crazy stuff. I like some of his work. Are you familiar with G.G. Allen?
Yeah, G.G. Allen is a literal degenerate schizoid.
Yes, he was. I did.
He probably fucked minors, but he wasn't rich enough to hang out with Epstein.
Probably. But that spirit of like crass G.G. Allen
Yeah,
and that type of thing. I miss the old
Reagan
punk
youth.
world. Yeah, the Reagan youth. Like,
Though
I
I've
just,
seen them defend masking during the pandemic. They're not
yeah,
right on everything. But their vocalist advocates natural law, so he claims.
yeah, that's the thing that gets me. There's like all these punks that want to advocate this stuff, but then when like a left wing politician comes out and says do something, they're like, vote for Bernie, man. I'm like, that's not rebelling. Voting for Bernie is not rebelling. Bernie is the system. You just don't realize that, and you want to be edgy and sell records. And that's what sucks. If they actually were against, like, if you're going to be against the system, be against the system. That's why I don't like people on the left or people on the right who sit there and then advocate, like, well, I guess I guess let's go ahead and vote in Trump or this, or we were just talking about that, or like helicopter man, or any of this garbage, because I think it's just stupid. Because not only does it help perpetuate statism, but it's literally just saying like, okay, I'm okay being ruled by somebody if that somebody is closer to my team or closer to my economic or social ideology. When in reality, for me, I just want complete decentralization of political power, or as much as possible down to the local level. And I don't think that there's, even if they are a good person in per se, I don't think there's a person with this master plan that can, even if they were completely altruistic, they could sit there and centrally plan everything and get it right. Because I know I couldn't do that. So,
Central planning, central banking, disconnect from that shit.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, um, I'm curious about you like a lot of my posts. Some of them are about like mutualism, some of them are about anarcho-capitalism, some of them are about even ANCOM stuff. I was curious, like, what do you a What do you think? Is there a particular like, um, or there's some authors that you resonate with, and why? And what do you think of different types of anarchists coalitioning together?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't read a single book from some of my favorite anarchists.
Ah, who
But
are some of your favorite anarchists?
Lysander Spooner, Emma
Yeah,
Goldman, Bachno, early Rothbard, before he became a paleo-con and advocating for unleash the cops on the homeless. Fuck out of here.
yeah,
Who
that
else?
pissed me off too.
Tonkin Sterner is a bit all right, but he comes off as a bit of a moral relativist.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of Sterner. I have some friends who are ego comms or things like that, and they're all good people. But when I look at Sterner's works, sometimes it seems very like uh, anarchist, but it seems I don't know. I don't know what to call it. It seems very self-centered, I guess, like kind of like I'm going to do whatever I want to whoever I want.
Right.
And I don't think I put it up there with LeVay.
Weaponizing nihilism against the state.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and to be fair, I've never read Sterner, so I can't really say is he good, is he bad. I ask other people. A lot of people have mixed mixed thoughts about it. So
Right. My favorite anarchist today would have to be Keith Preston. I don't care what they say, he's not a white nationalist.
no, I just
Jeremy
had him on.
Hardy.
I just had him on literally today, and that is my favorite anarchist because he understands all schools, and he's not necessarily biased, but he actually and he's up on current events too. So he's not like one of those theoretical guys that's like, well, if you give everybody a Murray Rothbard book, it'll just, life will be heaven. He's like, hey, there's different ideas, different things here. You can explore that. Sometimes this would work here, sometimes that would work, there. And yeah,
Mm. Uh,
so
can't think of anything to talk about. Have you had Justin Padini on the show at all?
no, I have not.
No.
I've debated him on stuff though.
That's all I'm going to say about my friend on this episode.
Okay, fair enough.
He's a very
Well,
controversial figure in the community, to say the least.
I think he likes to be controversial and say like some crazy stuff. I so far I've talked to him just a little bit, so we'll see. He doesn't. They don't like the idea that I do vote, but I let. But hey, I still do it. I'm kind of curious though. You have a different take, I would say, on Gaza that a lot of people, or I guess a lot of individuals might find controversial or not agree.
I, I wouldn't call myself pro Palestine. I'm pro innocent people getting bombed by colonizers.
Fair enough. Yeah, because a lot of people are like, well, you have to agree with one side or the other, and then if you don't agree completely with that side, well, you're just a bad person, and then they'll come at and then this or that. And what I tend to say is like, is there bad things on both sides? Yes, but I can see one side is disproportionately equipped to the other side, and then on top of that, um, they're just going like full bore on the other side, and the casualties are insane. So when I see that, I think it's my natural inclination to say, like, look, um, this side has gone way, way too far. So It just, I think it's weird that some people are still like, well, I guess they got to do it. I guess they got to. I'm like, at a certain point, you have to take a look at reality. I think for what it is, and then say, hey, if you keep oppressing somebody, and if you keep them in an open air prison for years upon years, eventually something bad is going to happen.
Right.
And even furthermore, I'm not necessarily I'm not necessarily convinced, even by even by the thing they say now, because they're like, well, October 7th was bad. Yes, but what they've done now, is 20 times worse than October 7th.
Right.
And I don't see how people can't see that. And even when I share, like, you know, Jews for peace or something like that, or like a protest just trying to show that, like, people laugh at it. I'm like, why are you laughing at it? There's serious violence going on now and serious atrocities that are bad. And I think people need to come up and realize, hey, that what we're seeing now, and I don't agree with South Africa is effectively, I do effectively think it is a genocide
Mhm.
because they have nowhere to run, nowhere to go. Um, I think 23,000 people have died, including like 9,000 kids. And on top of that, there are like 50,000 some people wounded. And on top of that, um, there's 1.8 million people in tents. And they say like 5% of the population has been killed. So to me, effectively, uh, and they won't stop, and that's kind of the crazy thing. So yeah, I do feel a need to speak out about it. I do. It is nice, also to hear you speak out about it because sometimes people say, "Well, Kareem, you're Middle Eastern, and that's why you're saying that." But no, I'm trying to tell people, or people come up with this argument that I really they're like, "Oh, well, most Jews are Zionists." They can't say all, but they're like, most Jews are Zionists. And I'm not really seeing that. Like, I don't know what the percentages are. I'm not personally seeing that. I'm seeing there's a lot of pushback in the Jewish community, which I think is good. I
Mhm.
just don't know how to keep going that. What I'm actually seeing is I've met a lot of Jews I met a lot of Jews who are actually very moderate or against what's going on. But then there's Christian Zionists who have never been to anywhere in the Middle East who want a war that will wipe out not only um, the Gazans but the Jewish people. So, like, I don't know.
Evangel-
Yeah,
Evangelicism is a death cult.
yeah. I don't. And then they want donations and things like that. Like, that's that's a scary thing. They're literally weaponizing religion to execute genocide and then saying, well, it's written somewhere in my book. And I was just talking to Keith about that, and he sent me a thing to look on that. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that. And then I'd love to get your thoughts on, well, the Houthis do something about it. And then all of a sudden, um, the United States is going after Yemen. I'm like, man, another war. This stuff just can't end any good way. So
The U.S. has been bombing Yemen since the Obama administration, so I'm not surprised it's continuing.
correct. But well, here's what I think. Here's, in my opinion, what happened. The Obama administration happened. That's when the crisis began. It was already poor to begin with. Then it was the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. I said, man, how's this ever going to stop with Saudi Arabia? But then what I think happened, in my opinion, and you correct me if I'm wrong, was the Saudis got American intelligence. They did some bombing campaigns. Um, Around 200,000 people to 300,000 people died. Because a lot of people died from hunger and starvation and other issues. Then, I'm not saying it's Disneyland now, but what happened is during 2020, the Saudi coalition, with the lockdown and everything, basically, in my opinion, gave up. They said, we can't win this. We spent too much money. And then Saudi Arabia stopped bombing them. Then, when they started getting ships doing that, Obama, or not Obama, well, might as well be, uh, Obama 2.0 or 1.0, Sleepy Joe said Operation Prosperity Guardian, and they didn't stop, so they bombed and attacked. Um, so yeah, there was a period, I'll say from 2020 till now, where they weren't really actively bombing. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Uh, I don't know much about the Yemen crisis to correct you. I do
Okay.
know that the U.S. is going scorched earth on them.
I think they're trying. I don't think they'll succeed. You can, and I'd like to hear what you think about that.
Mm. Sorry, I just spaced out for a moment.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I think they're trying to go scorch. What I think will happen is they'll have the same problem the Saudis happen. Well, they'll hit targets, they'll retaliate, and then eventually they'll say, "Come on, just give up," and then they won't give up. And then what will happen is they'll be sitting there like, "I wanted to disable the Houthis, but they weren't able to." So they're going to be at kind of a quagmire, and then what's going to happen is they're just going to do whatever they want to do anyway. I
Mm.
don't see people taking I don't see people taking the United States seriously anymore. And I know people say, well, it's just because of it's just because of Biden, but no, I think it's because honestly, it's because that we just try and throw a weight around. We just say, hey, we're going to do whatever we want to whoever we want, in whatever country, and eventually people have gotten sick of that.
Right. So why are the Houthis allegedly being backed by Iran anyway? It's all just a geopolitical chessboard.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we're already involved in three armed conflicts,
yeah, it's
which I'm
kind of
not surprised.
yeah,
But nobody wants to talk about the CIA's involvement in the 2014 Ukrainian revolution.
yeah. Um,
I might be wrong if the CIA weren't involved. Somebody has to let me know, but I'm pretty sure it was a color revolution through and through, though.
yeah, yeah, definitely it is. I just I just think that we're at the point where the U.S. tries to throw its weight around, and people are like, "Hey, you're not the world power you were before." And even Colonel Douglas McGregor admits this. And I think it's actually kind of good because the empire is in decline, and I knew that would kind of happen. I'm just waiting for the point where, hey, we have to actually negotiate with people. Because if you have to negotiate with people, I think the world will be in a much better spot than just trying to say, hey, I can physically overpower you. Not to say that negotiation gives you always the best answer, but generally it is. So, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. But what would be better is if the state fell and we achieved enough consciousness to establish anarchy and defend it.
So, I think there's a way to do that. And it's kind of Keith Preston's idea. I was talking with my dad, and I said, like, I really like General Lee and stuff like that. And he said, why? Because I think it's time. 1 in 4 people advocate for or are okay with secession, and I think a lot of people are pro secession now in America. I think it's time to have states start leaving the union.
Right. Cripple the federal government.
Correct. It is to, but it's more so than that. It's even more. It cripples the federal government. It gives more autonomy. So we're getting closer. Some people want absolute anarchy, and some people want
Yeah, but
absolute
we
central
can do
control.
secession. We can do secession without slavery this time, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, of course, yeah. Not only can we do secession without secession would end slavery because you wouldn't be paying taxes. And the good thing is, at least to the federal government, so that's one step. And then the state governments would actually have to do more of what you want because they can't just say, "Oh, feds, help me." All right, cool. We seceded. The feds can't mess stuff up. I think the best thing also about that is maybe standards of living would go up because we're not paying money to a criminal class.
Right.
At least one less criminal class, so we're closer. And then say Pennsylvania or wherever you are, whatever state you are,
Ohio.
says, "Hey, Ohio, hey, real close, and come down and visit." But let's just say, for the sake of it, they're like, "Man, I don't want to go to war in Yemen."
Right.
And then Pennsylvania is like, "Oh, well, Ohio, why doesn't Ohio want to do it?" Well, I guess we don't want to do it either. We don't want to do. So one state's like, "Yeah, let's go Texas." I'm like, "Okay, well, are you going to commit to doing all of this, to fighting the war yourself?" No, I don't want to. Oh,
The secession, if it will happen, won't just be North versus South. It'll be red Republican versus Democrat, with Republicans most likely uh, starting the secession.
yeah, that'd be good.
And Republicans are more than not likely. Sorry, they're more likely to be firearms owners. So if so yeah, I couldn't finish my thought. Something about liberals being soy boys who are afraid of firearms and believe the media's every lie about AR-15s.
So I think the like people like Karens and corporate liberals are like that, but you go into like the actual like the leftists and the ancoms, they have said the same thing to me. Kareem, if you go far enough left, you get your guns back. And I've
Yeah,
even
but
talked.
didn't
Go ahead.
Marx want to disarm small business owners because he considered them bourgeoisie?
He probably did, but he said the right of gun should never be surrendered. Like, as bad as he is, he got that one right. And most leftists I know are packing. Like most, my ANCOM friends, they're all packing. They're all good to go and ready to go. They're all ready to take on, some of them are more equipped than some right wing militia guys. So
Right?
I would say, but whether it
They're
comes from the
definitely they're definitely gonna outgun the Fed percenters, Gravy Seals, Meal Team Six type of right wing
yeah,
militiamen.
yeah, because there's a lot of guys who are like, I'm gonna, if Trump don't win, I'm gonna get ready. I got my gun. I'm going. I'm like, hey, like Meal Team Six, like before you go Civil War, bruh. Why don't you, I don't know, go on a diet, like stop hitting.
Right.
It's always the dudes who are like, I'm ready to go. Send me. I'm like, maybe you should eat a couple salads and uh fast for a few days before
I
you
can't say shit. I'm fat myself, to be honest.
I'm fat.
Yeah.
So
But
um
those guys don't lift heavy weights. They don't bench press. They don't do flies or whatever.
yeah, well, it doesn't seem they exercise anymore. Like that they're basically like, man, back in the day I was a keyboard, they're keyboard warriors, but man, back in the day I was this and that. I'm like, that's great. But it doesn't matter. So I personally think that when a secession happens, it could be multiple things. It could be Republican and Democrat. Then I could see like uh, cities uh, going away from states. towns and counties going away from that, I think that would be pretty good. So
Rural versus urban divide.
yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go on a tangent about the Jew tunnels. I'm
About
not
the
gonna
what?
say the Jew tunnels. They discovered tunnels underneath the synagogue in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Um,
I've
I
done some
think
digging into that, and I'm gonna be honest. It's most likely a nothing burger or a distraction to distract from whatever.
yeah, I honestly think the mainstream media now is just like, look, anything, look, aliens, look, tunnels, look, this celebrity, or look, this celebrity. Now they like tomato soup and they changed their name 3 times. I'm like, I don't care. Like,
Right.
and people are so distracted. People were so distracted. Conservatives were so distracted over a calendar. I didn't even look at the calendar, but they're like,
Right.
this calendar, oh my God, these people are not of God. And I'm like,
You ever see the meme where someone says, "I just told my conservative uncle or somebody that they turned Kool-Aid Man into Kool-Aid Day just to see him lose his mind or something."
yeah, like, oh, what is it? We're all coming to. Or like that Bud Light thing. I'm like, I don't care. Bud Light can put what I'm not going to drink it anyway. I don't
The,
drink that much.
the sorry. The
I
truther
don't.
community falls into this too. They obsess over celebrities allegedly being satanic, like, oh, Lil Nas X is having sex with the devil. That means he's an Illuminati Satanist 666, all
Yeah. And
seeing
then,
eye.
you know
Fuck
what?
out
The
of here.
truth also, the
That's
truth is,
entertainment tonight to your gossip. Get that shit out if you're a serious truther slash libertarian.
yeah, but there are truthers who have fought with me. They're like, Kareem, the earth is flat. I have proof. I'm like, okay, if I accept the earth is flat, how will that change anything Pfizer's done? How will that change
Right.
like any of these conflicts in the Middle East or Europe? If I accept the earth is flat, like what will that do? They're like, it'll say they've been lying to us. I know that they've been doing that anyway. Like that's not going to be like, well, the elite have been lying and they lied about this. And I get the moon landing is very suspect because they call the president from a landline and we
I
can't
actually
go.
heard the actual explanation for that through something called Capcom. And I'm not talking about the Mega Man Street Fighter Devil May Cry company. But
can, can we say the
the
moon
moon,
landing was fake?
the moon landing being fake doesn't affect me whatsoever. If anything, it could
Yeah,
explain
so this is where
them trying
like
to own the Soviets.
yeah, so this is where I lose it with people because they're like, Kareem, the moon land was fake, and I can prove it. And here's a weird thing, and or stuff like there's other stuff that's funny, like Fidel Castro being Trudeau's dad. Uh, which hey, I'm not gonna say that's true or
No
not true,
solid evidence for that claim, just going by how similar they allegedly look.
or like Tom Hanks is in Guantanamo Bay. I heard that a lot around 20.
Yeah,
Tom,
QAnon has been coping since the pandemic. They said, oh, the pandemic was a ruse to imprison all of the adrenochrome harvesting pedo Democrat celebrities like Ellen. And they tried to prove that Ellen was on house arrest too. That was hilarious.
what about
I wish these
Michelle?
people, Michelle Obama being a man, I don't care. Transvestigation shit is goofy and corny as shit. It's just schizo shit. They even accuse each other of being trans.
Yeah, like some of this stuff is like,
Someone's going to accuse me of being a female invert, Baphomet worshiper, just for exposing
yeah,
that.
yeah. Some of this stuff is just ridiculous because it doesn't help anything. Like, okay, let's say you proved all this stuff true. Like, okay, what does that do? Like, does that end anything? Does that end any conflicts? Does that help with anything? Like, there is, like, but is HARP real? Yeah. Can they change the weather? Yes.
Hmm.
Can they weaponize weather technology to effectively,
Geoengineering.
yeah,
Climate
geoengineer?
change is climate change is the subtext. And I have a hard time trying to convince people that chemtrails are real and that it's part of the government's geoengineering program. But on the flip side, I have a tough time trying to prove that adrenochrome harvesting is a myth and there's no solid evidence. And don't bring up Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That shit's a work of fiction. Hunter S. Thompson himself said he never took adrenochrome or something. Oh, wait, I'm getting confused with the author of Brave New World who mentioned it in that book too.
If I told you time travel was real and the CIA could time travel and astral project and do all those things, would you believe me?
I've heard that the CIA has documents on those,
They do.
but
I've
I
read
don't
them.
know. That's a tough one.
I'm making a
If time
course on
travel
that.
is real, then what if abortion was a hoax and that abortion is actually the CIA assassinating possible resistance leaders like John Connor?
Um, it doesn't work like that.
I just made up my own conspiracy theory on the fly.
There you go. Yeah, they took them out so they could bring in the AI and enslave us all. We're doomed. It's been nice knowing you, Noah. But the
Right.
machines are taking over.
Yeah, Jeremy Harding goes hard on the AI agenda. And I
Yes,
like
sir.
that because he's one of the few anarchists actually discussing how AI can be utilized as a threat to humanity and and progress global enslavement.
It can definitely do that. It can definitely do that. And yeah, I sent him a link. He may or may not come on. I gotta see if he'll come on. I don't know if he's seen it yet, but yeah,
All right,
I,
let's ditch conspiracy for a moment, go into actual theory and practice.
sure.
So, what do you think of mutual aid?
When I think of mutual aid, I think there's two good anarchist, what I call connector philosophies that help facilitate social order. I think Proudhon mutualism, which I kind of see as, if you want to call it, half, not completely, but half socialism, half capitalism.
Right.
Uh, I
That's
think,
just third position.
huh?
That's just third position.
Okay. I see mutualism as a good way to facilitate social order, and I see it as a good way in a decentralized society to help fund things that people need or want.
Right. I've heard a lot of ANCOMs talk shit about mutualism because they're pro market, and ANCOMs are obviously anti market.
I've heard a lot of ANCAPs talk shit on mutualism too because it has a social aspect. Here's the thing: I think ANCOMs and ANCAPs and mutualists need to realize, hey, we have a basis in voluntary interaction, and we have a
Mhm.
basis in cooperation and finding decentralized means. So it's not so it's in our best interest not to talk crap. Now, am I in favor of markets? Yes. Am I in favor of laissez-faire markets? Yes. But we're not at that stage yet. And I don't know exactly how that looks like with all these different philosophies and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see um, what to do.
Do you think anarcho communist commune and Hans Hermann Hoppe style ANCAP society could coexist without going to war with each other?
Yes.
Yeah, because I Hop, he's wacky to say the least. But a lot of his fans seem to not have actually read anything by Hop, such as Democracy, the God That Failed.
Yeah, definitely.
They just like a haha funny throwing commies out of helicopters meme. That's another thing. Pinochet stands are actually fascist. They're not libertarian at all. If you actually looked into the history of Chile under Pinochet, it wasn't on the scale as Hitler, Mao, or Stalin or Pol Pot, but it was definitely a horrid
Yeah, I'm not
experience
a fan.
for any.
I am not. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Pinochet because it's status. I just call it all status. Like people want to argue, well, my guy was a statist, but he was actually a fascist. But no, my guy is better because he was a better state. Like people always want the like, well, my statist was. What does that tell you if people are using violence, but they're saying, well, my state sanctioned violence is a little bit better because my guy, you know, had a better speech, or my guy wore a different hat, or my guy had a different political philosophy, or my guy went after the people I want. So it's okay. It's okay if my status guy goes after the people I want. I notice this is true when, like, when federal departments get weaponized against Democrats, it's like, oh, okay, great. Like, ooh, like if Elon Musk goes and bans a bunch of liberal accounts, it's like, yeah, let's go. Then he bans. Oh wait, but now he's banning us. Just like they like the Patriot Act. Oh, George Bush is getting the Patriot Act. He's gonna get all them guys, and he's gonna get Bill Osmond, and we're gonna fight for freedom. And if you don't like it, well, you're not patriotic. And then
And
lo
they
and behold,
immediately went on to hating Obama, even though he did nothing to, even though he kept the Patriot Act.
yeah. And then they hate Obama. But what's funny is then the Patriot Act, then the surveillance state just kept going.
Hmm.
And I'm like, guys, this is going to get bad. They're going to be spying. Oh, no, Kareem, you just don't know. And then 10
Can
years
I
later, like,
can I give the middle finger to the feds for the surveillance state real quick?
yeah, sure. I give it to the, hey, Mr. NSA, how you doing? Hope you're enjoying the stream.
ANSA, suck this.
You know, I hope I don't find you after the dollar collapses. That'd be bad.
Right.
But yeah. So aside from that, um,
I'm
I
still
think,
trying to wrap my head around why the Federal Reserve needs to go because one, I'm not an economics expert. However, I do know that they are the cause of inflation and devaluing the dollar since its inception. That's what right libertarians get right. Uh, Left libertarians don't really discuss that aspect of the economy that much. They mainly go after Wall Street types, which I respect. But Wall Street and the Fed are working together. The Fed bails Wall Street out.
yeah, yeah, I noticed people get a very condensed view of government or condensed view of like that. They're like, oh, Raytheon's bad, or Pfizer's bad, or these people are bad. I'm like, these organizations are all kind of not always working together, but there's connections between there's boards of directors that sit on these boards and make all these like no Korean,
Then
that's
they
not
move
true.
on to the federal government.
Yes. And then they join a regulatory agency and people are like, oh, I don't know why all this stuff is happening. Well, could somebody who have worked for a previous company have interests in furthering an agenda because they work for that company? They're like, no, that's a conspiracy. That's the real conspiracy theories. Like sometimes, yes, people get too far, like Bohemian Grove, all this stuff. I'm like, what about the revolving door of board of directors? Like, have you
Right.
considered that? And they're like, no. And that's the issue I have is they do not consider the very obvious and very pernicious uh, things that are right in front of your face. Like you don't need Adam Weishaupt sometimes. Sometimes it just simply boards of directors. Uh,
Right. Everybody wants to hate on big pharma, but once you suggest that they may be hiding cures for cancer, then you're a conspiracy theorist and possibly far right, because the media loves to associate every conspiracy theorist with the far right. Even though I've encountered far left conspiracy theorists, and they were common during the Bush administration and were involved in the 9/11 truth movement.
Yeah, and I wish they'd come back. You know what? You know what I miss? I miss the left that was skeptical of big pharma, the left that was skeptical of war, the left that just like back in the George Bush days. I was even kind of on the liberal Michael Moore side. I wasn't, a fan of their socialist communist talking points, but I'm like, yeah, I can get down with some anti-war rhetoric. Yeah, I can get down with that. I think this is all good stuff. So
Right.
hey, um, I think we're moving, in my opinion, in the right direction on the right. But I think the left needs to get some people on the left who got it happened right around the Occupy Wall Street time, if you can remember to that. I literally there were literal leftists out there protesting the bailouts and the corporate controller, and then what happened is I feel that they all went away, and then there's like a funny little cartoon. Tim Pool has showed it where it says
Right.
"introduce them to identity politics," and I think that's
Yeah, that
unfortunately.
meme never gets old. Dave Smith talks about how the media started mentioning racism every chance they could. I'm not saying racism isn't a problem, but I'm saying that the media were you David Smith was saying that the media is using racism to divide people. After the Occupy Wall Street saw and the Tea Party saw both left and right uniting against the beast system, so to say.
They did like it was a nice mix of everything, and then what happened is they co-opted the Tea Party, I think, with identity politics, and then Donald Trump came along, and that was the issue. I don't think the Tea Party people were bad per se, but I think they got co-opted just like everything else.
My grandpa was part of the Tea Party movement.
Nice.
He lives all the way in Texas, so he's somewhat based, but I think he's a hardcore conservative, so
So
not fully based.
as long as he's not down with the QAnon stuff.
The QAnon shit, I was dumb enough to fall for it because as a teenager, you usually believe a lot of shit without looking at the evidence beforehand.
Mm. Hey, but you're figuring it out now, so.
Right,
And the good thing is, like, hey, at least some of these conspiracy theories open the door to, like, oh, maybe there's corruption happening.
right.
Maybe things aren't what they tell me. Maybe they lied about stuff. Kind of like when I started listening to punk rock. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Now, I didn't have a whole lot of ideas back then. I had to see like Ron Paul and Adam Kokesh talk about it. And I was like, you know what? These guys are making a lot of sense, but I just don't know what's all talking. And then I watched Stefan Molyneux and I'm like, oh, okay, I understand here what's going on. Like
I,
anarcho
I miss
capital.
I miss when Stefan Molyneux was good.
He was good up until he became Trumpy. Then I really didn't like watching him. Then, I mean, he still did some okay stuff after then, but that was the issue I have is to he went to I don't know, like since we're live on YouTube, he started looking at race in not a good way. He's like, well, at least because this
So-called
group,
race realism.
I'm not a fan of that. Like that gets shit
Me
banned.
neither.
I don't even want to mention that because that just gets you up like more than anything else. And I don't like it either because someone came on Tom Woods and actually made a good point. He said, okay, well, if this person is more family oriented and they, do this, this, and that, um, they might they might make more income here, but then if somebody, you know, uh, gets married later in life, but then does this, a lot of stuff equals out in funny ways. So,
Right.
and I'm not a fan of that also because I judge people by individuals. I don't go, oh, okay, well, you're this thing, so oh, that must mean that by default, then you'll be good at this, or you'll be bad at this, or you'll know this, or you'll like this, or you get people in trouble. And that was a real bad thing he did. It wasn't the Trump stuff. It was like he started getting all like, well, this race, the IQ kind of low, so they'll probably. I'm
Mhm.
like, wow, like, bro, you're gonna get the
Dude
hammer here.
literally invented the libertarian to alt-right pipeline.
I don't know. Well, I blame Chris Cantwell for that, but
And
like,
Mike Penovich.
yes, but that's
Fuck
the
that
thing. But
kid.
yeah, I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to sit there with Trump supporters and be like, "You want to defund the Pentagon?" And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, here we go." I've joked with people like, "You wouldn't make the Boog our military, would you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would. Yeah, yeah." I see Democrats now are scared of militias. That's
Right.
another thing we can talk about. Because to me, if you're afraid of a militia, I think you're by default a tyrant. Because oh, what? Because in America, it literally says in the Second Amendment that a well regulated militia, not a military, well regulated militia has the right
Right.
to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say what type of arms either.
Civilian armed forces.
Yes. So I really think that Democrats are scared because if you have civilian armed forces and you have people who I guess some of the gravy seals, and you're like, okay, you don't get Donald Trump. They're like, let's go. So or for whatever reason, So one good thing about America is having a lot of problems, but I guess one good thing is you can still, if you're down to boog, you can be down to boog. And I think
Right.
they're worried because if the standard of living goes down, more people are going to be down to boog, and they're going to be looking for the people who cause problems. So Democrats could potentially have a very very bad day. They need to stop making coercive legislation,
Right.
or they're
Also,
they're
BreadTube loves to claim that the Boog Boys are fascists, even though they literally stood side by side with BLM protesters during the George Floyd riots. Real fascists, would try to kill those type of protesters.
I'll ask a controversial question.
All right.
Do you think Antifa are fascists?
Uh, that's a tough question to answer because there are a lot of self identifying Antifa that mean well. However, they also believe that anything to the left of Trotsky or right of Trotsky is fascist. Also, the problem with Antifa is that they also include radical liberals
Mm-hmm.
along with communists, the statist type, not the based ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not much to say about Antifa
Mm-hmm.
other than they're going to storm the local Waffle House.
All right. I had the same opinion as you. And there's a writer named Keith Knight.
Yeah, I
If
know
you're,
who Keith Knight is.
yeah, good guy. Um, Still follow
Uh,
him. And
I'll have to ask you a question in private about his historical revisionism.
sure. But we'll do that off camera, I guess.
All right.
And I'll do my best to answer that. But Keith Knight wrote a little piece on Antifa. I went
Yeah.
in the comments and agreed with him. I had someone come up and say, "Hey, Kareem, this isn't true." And I got an argument with him. Now, I just met Jeremy Harding, so I was getting into coalitionism, but Let's learn a little bit about it. And he said, hey, this is a coalition group. Let's be friends. We don't need to fight. And then he started telling me a little bit about like Kropotkin and Antifa and stuff like that. And I found out there's a lot of ANCOMs and syndicalists and a lot of good people there. Now, they are Marxists and they do a lot of things that I don't approve of, destroying private property and stuff like that. But they also fight agents of the state. And I'll tell you this,
Right.
I don't think it's perfect, but you get a bunch of like all these like Nick Gravy seals with the Constitution. And I love America and I listen to country music. And
Mhm.
if them feds roll around, I'll tell them what's what. And it's like, yes, sir, officer. I'll do whatever you say.
Not
You
even
want
good country music, just the
okay,
top 40 pop shit.
top 40 pop. Sorry, my bad. I was just
No, no,
yeah,
you didn't do anything wrong. I'm just saying that the
yeah,
country they like is vastly different than the
yes.
country on the
Nickelback. They
people.
love the best of Nickelback. I actually don't hate Nickelback. I think just people hate Nickelback
I
for
want I
reasons.
wanted to like Nickelback, but they're so bland and dull and lifeless.
You need to look at this photograph, man. But like half of those guys who say I will defend the 3 percenter types, I will defend the republic. Oh my God, the feds are coming. Yeah, do everything authority figures tell you. Come on, I just put I put the rattlesnake there. I put the Gadsden flag
I
up for
love
show.
the feds, but I hate the feds, but I love cops, even though my
Yeah,
movement is
yeah,
infiltrated by feds. COINTELPRO, look it up if you're watching.
yeah. So like you get the 3% who are like that, and then my issue is this. Then they go and call leftists. They're like, "Oh, look at them soy boys! Look at them soy boys!" But 9 times out of 10, and even Tim Pool admitted this, when they say they're going to take down that police station, they're going to take it down. When they
Right.
say they're going to fight against federal agents, they actually do it.
We just gotta. Nah, I can't say it. Something about the Federal Reserve. This video would get flagged for whatever.
Yeah, so let's all say it. But you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to monetize my live streams. I might be able to monetize. I want to do what Stefan Molyneux did, but kind of talk about like stuff like Keith Preston in a Keith Preston way, like explain to people different schools of anarchy in a rational and easy to understand way, and then monetize the channel like that, and also have my live streams up as well. And then
Earlier you brought. Sorry.
I'm not going to
Earlier
monetize
you
streams though.
earlier you brought up that people will side with the feds when it's convenient. And that reminded me a lot of leftists started mocking, a lot of leftists mocked Ashley Babbitt's death, one of the few people who died in the so called insurrection.
Insurrection,
Dude,
taking pictures of the Capitol.
I'm not defending them at all. I'm just saying that if it was a real insurrection, you'd have bodies stacked upon bodies. That definitely wasn't the case.
No, it wasn't an insurrection. In my opinion, it was just an unplanned, like, I don't even know what it was because I went there and took selfies. It doesn't even seem like you're mad. They're just like, hey, I went in there and took a selfie on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Now, you have to really
That was one
understand
of
it.
those few good moments.
Yeah, it's funny, but here's my problem. You're going to go to jail and you had no plan whatsoever on anything to do. So it's like, that's it's just not smart. Like if I really want to, it's not, you're not playing chess or checkers. You're just, I don't know what you're doing. You're playing Monopoly and then trying to get past, past go and then getting hit for it and then going, oh, why did this happen to me? I'm a conservative. I love America. I'm like, dude, walked into the Capitol building. You know they're going to have a problem with that. You got to have more
Right?
forward thinking than the
If it
skills
were
that you.
Antifa, there would be total bloodshed. You wouldn't. There would be dead politicians, at least in the, at least in the single digits. And I remember seeing a post. It was probably fake by AOC saying that someone stole her shoes. I remember laughing because someone there must have a foot fetish if they steal AOC's shoes from the Capitol.
My thing was this: they didn't do anything. They didn't have a plan. They didn't do anything. And I don't really care about Washington D.C. The way to cripple Washington D.C. is not to go to Washington D.C. Okay, I mean I do go to protest, but the way to cripple is really like, okay, well, I can run for local, people get to know me, then I run for state, and then I propose secession measures, and then we go from there.
Right. Oh, I just remembered the guitarist from the metal band Iced Earth, John Schaefer, was involved in J6, and he's now in witness protection program.
Yeah, I like Ice Earth.
I used to like John Schaefer. He used to sound really based. His influences included Ron Paul, Ronnie James Dio. He even had a side project called Sons of Liberty that exposed the Federal Reserve and how it really works. You should give Sons of Liberty a listen sometime.
Hmm.
And I was really disappointed because he turned out to be a bitch ass statist, willing to go to federal prison for some orange pedophile.
Yeah, that's a sad thing. There's a lot of Ron Paul guys who like believed in Trump, and I can understand some of the like, rhetoric. Now I'll say this: Trump had better rhetoric than most people, so it sounded good. It was like, I want to
He
fight
was
against that, but like at the end of the day, when you look at his policies, he's no different than Bernie Sanders, really.
right.
At least to me, like maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong because I honestly think he just co-opted a lot of the people who wanted to um, who had some type of anger towards the state and said, "Hey, look, I'm the guy. I'm going to stand up to like the deep state. I'm going to stand up to the establishment, and together we can win." And blah blah blah.
Trump
And
having you know Trump having the swamp in his cabinet would be like if Ron Paul ran for president now and he had Larry Fink as the treasurer.
yeah, and Ron Paul would never do that because Ron Paul is principled. I think Trump just wants people to like him.
Mm,
I don't think he has like I don't think he's the God Emperor. I don't think he's the worst president ever. I don't think he's the best president ever. I don't think he's that big of a deal. Actually, I take actually the the I take the stance that well, you know, it's he's just who cares about him, and most people don't. Most
right.
people do not take that stance. I guess most people are like, he's the worst thing ever, Kareem, or no, he's the only one who can ever save America, and I have to laugh at that. Like the only one that can ever save America, this guy, a reality TV star with Bernie
Mm-hmm.
Sanders politics, who's you know addicted to printing money, just like
Addicted to
every
McDonald's too.
addicted to McDonald's, addicted to printing money, did the whole Yemen thing, um, made
Bombed
government.
Soleimani to try to start a
Yeah,
war with Iran.
yeah. And actually, one person said Trump didn't start new wars. One person said, yes, he did. Iran just declined the invitation.
Also, I remember hearing reports that he bombed Syria, and I immediately jumped off the Trump train because I was huge into Trump and the alt right as a teen as well.
I'm sure people were. I remember when um, I was a teen, I was like big on the, oh, well, we got Obama fever. Like Obama's going to end the war in Iraq.
Right.
Did he? No.
Ironically, Biden did. Oh, wait, that was Afghanistan.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Honestly, metalheads like Dave Mustaine and David Sanchez from Havoc are more punk rock than 95% of the huge punk influencers like Fat Mike, and such.
Yeah, I don't like the punk influencers. I don't like Johnny Rotten. I don't like those people. But
I've heard people say I've heard people say that Johnny Rotten was one of the few true punks left, even though Sex Pistols were literal industry plants.
yes, they were. And Tom Barber, I did like Tom Barber from Chelsea Grin because he's like, I'm not taking part of any of this. I'm not doing any of this stuff. So that was good.
I watched a video from I think an old vocalist from Job for a Cowboy claiming that the Constitution is an anarchist document, and he was allegedly involved with a plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan back then, a few years ago, I believe.
I love Job for a Cowboy.
So does Demi Lovato, which is a fun fact.
I mean, fine, I still like him. Like, I notice celebrities try to say, like, I'm in the metal, man. I mean, I don't
Kim
know. It's
Kim K claims that she truly loves Morbid Angel because she heard I think Covenant playing during a sex tape she was filming, and she got hooked ever since. I might be butchering the story, but I don't care.
I don't know. Like Billie Eilish said she likes Metallica or something. Like whatever. Like at some point I don't care.
It's always the entry metal bands, but I was surprised that Kim K actually claimed to be a true fan of Morbid Angel, which are a Florida old school death metal.
Do you want to talk about music?
Uh, I'm not sure what to continue talking about. We've already covered the Houthis, Gaza, Jan
No, do
6.
you want to talk about music? Music. Like,
Not really.
okay. Because I was going to ask, because I have a lot of friends who say that core, because I like hardcore and metalcore and stuff
I
like that.
mean, we could
That's
talk about music for a bit, but after that, we got to get back into the world stage.
okay. I was just going to
Uh,
throw it to you. A lot of people say, I have a lot of, you know, friends in different metal circles. A lot of old school metalheads, or some like people who call themselves elitists, would tell me, well, Kareem, you can like Kill Switch Engage or Job for a Cowboy or Carnifex or Suicide Silence or Any Given Day or what is the band I'm thinking? Despised Icon. But
mhm.
at the end of the day, those are just entry level, and you got to get into like black metal or like
Right.
hardcore death metal. And if you don't, you're a poser. I don't know. What do you think
I
on?
don't I don't give a shit about the elitist mentality. If you enjoy good metal, you enjoy good metal. And sure, a lot of it's influenced by hardcore punk. Yeah, thrash, death, and black metal all have hardcore influences, but they want to pretend that no, it's just metalcore, deathcore that's the problem. I mean, sure, a lot of deathcore and metalcore is trash, but you gotta admit that bands like Converge,
I
Earth
love
Crisis,
Converge. I
Integrity.
love Converge. I love Converge and Integrity. Like those are.
I have I have a copy of Jane Doe on CD. Let me look for it. I think I still have it. If I oh there it is. You see,
Nice. I like it. That's sexy right there.
probably their best and most influential album, if you ask me. Also, I recently learned that Mark Passio is the frontman of a hardcore punk band called The
The-
Liberators, I think.
yeah, the Liberators are the founders. Yeah,
Oh, the
that's pretty
founders.
sick. Yeah.
Do they have any demos or EPs or any full lengths on Spotify or YouTube?
I don't know. We can look.
Is he still active in that band? Because I'd love to hear songs about natural law and dark occult ruling class.
All right, listen up. This song's about Freemasonry.
I don't know his full take on Freemasonry. Is it nuanced, or does he just say that Freemasonry in general is evil, like a lot
No,
of Christians?
it's nuance. It's nuance. It's not just like there are some truthers that are like, oh my God, people in robes. I'm like, that it's not like that. You're dumb. They're like,
Oh my God,
man,
you're part of a Freemason lodge. You eat babies.
there are people who do say that, like legit. And they think that. And they're like, I got proof here, man. And their proof is like some dude on BitChute, like, oh look, I got just some really badly done video on BitChute.
I want to go off on a tangent about how back in the day it was very easy to find truth or related videos on YouTube, and YouTube started community guidelining it and all that. And if you want to find that shit, you have to go to Odyssey and BitChute now. And a lot of
Yeah,
BitChute is, oh, Jews bad, haha. Let's kill Jews and blacks and other minorities I don't like. Haha, you're a tranny. Fuck you.
yeah.
That's
There's a
literally most of the comment section on BitChute videos. And it's like these people are either bots or legitimate incel basement dwellers who are too afraid to talk to girls.
Yeah, they're probably like the Nick Fluentes type. Like, I'm an alpha male. I'll lead
Nick
the pack. I'm
Nick
never kissing
Fuentes.
shit.
Nick Fuentes. I'm going to establish a Catholic theocracy from my mother's basement. Fuck out of here, Nick. You're just as bad as Ben Shapiro. In fact, you're the Christian theocrat version of Zionist Ben Shapiro. They're literal nerds that push hate and other garbage political takes
I know.
that I can't think of at the moment. The whole Groiper versus Turning Point USA feud was just nonsense infighting. You know how the ruling class has a bunch of infighting? Well,
Yeah.
the internet right has that too.
That every time they call themselves groypers, I think of gropers. Do you?
Right,
Weird. I think it's someone like grabbing my balls at the airport.
right. Vosh is just as bad as Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, I feel like
Say,
Bosch is the uh
I
tanky
love
version.
horse porn. I want to legalize child porn. Someone's going to take that out of context, not knowing I'm talking about Vosh. Oh yeah, did I also mention that Biden and NATO are based? Yeah, I'm totally a libertarian socialist.
Yeah, I feel like that guy. Like if we're talking about offshoot, you know, um, like dollar store versions of Ben Shapiro, I do feel like he's the tanky version of that.
Right.
Just
I
like
wouldn't even
establish.
call him a tanky. Jackson Hinkle is probably, or Caleb Maupin is probably the
I,
tank
I,
Shapiro.
to be fair, Jackson Henkel's been on point with the Palestine reporting, and so is
Yeah.
Hazel Din.
But how are you going to support Palestine if you also believe that Russia has every right to ethnically cleanse and invade Ukraine?
I don't know. I don't know what his logic is behind that. I've been trying to ask him to debate, but he's not doing it. So,
Being a
um,
tanky in 2024, you gotta you gotta be against the colonization and occupation of one country, but support the other because Russia is supposedly against Western imperialism. Yeah, fight imperialism with imperialism.
yeah,
That's
man, we got to conquer people, and then it'll all work out. It's like that ANCAT with the glasses, that ball with the glasses, smiling.
a
Um,
handshake meme with Tanky and QAnon supporting Putin.
I could see that. Another guy who does annoy me, but I guess people, but he says he's an industry shill, is a dude named Destiny, and
Destiny is a
he let
neoliberal hack.
he let people smash his wife, then he had a divorce, and I'm like, what? Why on God? Why would you go to the length to get married and then have dudes like bang your wife? Like, I know I'm
That
talking
sounds
shit.
like Adam 22 shit.
Yeah, he did. His
Both
wife
are
wasn't
legal.
bad looking. It's like she was like a Swedish model or something, like Melina. Like, dude, if I was dating like a model, like, and another dude said hi, I'm like, all right, I'm not even a libertarian anymore. I'm just, I would give up. To be fair, that's when I would forsake. That's when I'd forsake the
Oh,
NAP.
what's up, Jeremy?
That's when I'd
Eh.
forsake the NAP and just be violent. And yeah, I do not like Destiny at all. He's just like whatever. He seems to be a mouthpiece for Biden. Like when he
Yeah.
was on Tim Pool, he's like Tim Pool would say, this bad thing happened. Oh yeah, Trump definitely did it. Oh, Biden did
Oh,
it
yes.
too. Oh well, I'm gonna have to look that up and see if there's evidence to that claim. I'm like, well, here's what he would say now. Well, Trump had no right to bomb Syria or Iran or whatever, or bomb Syria. And then it's like, well, uh, Biden bombed Yemen without congressional order authorization. And Destiny would be like, well, is there any evidence to that claim? I need to look it up. I don't know. I'm a neoliberal hack. Neoliberalism is the worst
Right.
thing.
The neocon, neolib establishment.
This is the worst thing ever. Like, out of all the political systems, that is the worst system. I'm living through it right now. I want to escape. This is the worst thing ever. I know how you deal with
Yeah, I mean,
immigration.
it's definitely worse than Nazi Germany.
It is.
And
It would have been
Soviet
better to
Russia.
live under the USSR.
Yes, it is. You know why? Because at least there you
Yeah,
just died quickly. This is like a slow, painful death.
yeah, no.
Mhm.
Without the West, the USSR and Nazi Germany wouldn't have existed. If anything, they're a product of neoliberalism and the worst version. State
Right.
capitalism taken to its logical conclusion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
So yeah,
remember seeing a post that Biden unconstitutionally had soldiers set foot on the ground in Ukraine. I would want to see if you guys think that's true. I need to fact check that.
he's a fact checker.
I think he put soldiers necessarily on the ground, but what he did was he put military contractors there to train the people. Massive air quotes because they're always
Advisors. No man, he put
yeah,
advisors.
That reminds
yeah,
me,
yeah. So,
BlackRock wants to work with Zelensky to rebuild Ukraine. Russell Brand covered this.
well, I have my reservations about Russell Brand's content. I think he went down the right wing grifter rabbit hole, and that's why he started to support people like Jordan Peterson and shit. But generally speaking, the thing is, so I came in, I just got off a 2.5 hour stream with Keith Preston and Kareem not too long ago, so I needed to get a few things in order and also get a short workout and post workout food. So I did that, and what I heard, like after I got back in, like I turned on the stream to check and see if it was still going. I think so. Here's the thing. I
We're
understand
making
what you're saying that Russia shouldn't be able to invade and like win in that struggle, right? I agree with that, and I agree that the Mop and Hinkle group, all these fucking people are pretty bad news in terms of their support of tanky bullshit and their support of Russia as a force for good and winning in Ukraine. However, what I'll also say is that the Decalogue of the Ukrainian nationalist included enslaving foreigners and expanding the empire to a greater Ukraine. Ukraine is an imperialist fascist nation. That's the reason they're okay with Strasser. It's the reason they're okay with fucking what's his name, Bandera. It's the reason
Literal Nazi war criminal.
they're okay with the yeah, it's the reason they're okay with the OUN Azov Battalion right sector in general, which is just a coalition of all the like loosely Nazi affiliated Ukrainian groups, because they are just another group of imperialist invading forces. And so
That's
for
why they
me,
bombed.
for my money, yeah.
That's why they bombed Donbas and Donetsk to
Yeah.
hell. Just
Yeah,
because. Go on.
Also, Noah made a
the
funny.
Donbas, Luhansk and Donetsk are very much a case, a case for, you know, why Ukraine is not an innocent party. And they also ran U.S. biolabs because they were already a vassal state of the U.S. They
Right.
also helped the U.S. intelligence apparatus by helping train machine learning algorithms, which, by the way, in case Justin Bedini hears this, because I know you're still Facebook friends, he's a piece of shit still who believes that AI is less dangerous than trans people in sports. But Ukraine was helping train AI models.
How do I convince them that adrenochrome harvesting is a nothing burger that has zero evidence behind it?
What I would, if anything, say is that I wouldn't be surprised. You know, given throwing that bone, I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, it's like the patent for adrenochrome is a synthetic form, and it's a lot easier to make adrenochrome than it would be to harvest it from people.
Yeah.
The real thing that people should be concerned about isn't adrenochrome harvesting. If you want to talk about infant blood sacrifices, it's foreskin harvesting, which is a very real thing that happens. The foreskins are taken and given to like cosmetics companies and skin graft companies and a bunch of other shit in order to give people youthful appearances and shit.
Sandra Bullock literally bragged about that on Ellen, both who I suspect are on the Epstein flight logs.
I wouldn't be surprised, but like that's one of the things. Like I wouldn't be surprised, but like there's enough that we can call these people out for that we do know that it wouldn't matter anyway. Like that's the thing. Adrenochrome, I wouldn't be surprised, but any of the motherfuckers that people would suspect are taking adrenochrome would be like guilty of so many other things that you could verifiably point to. That the adrenochrome thing is just kind of a, you know, it's a maybe. I don't know, but I'm not going to say yes because I don't know, and I'm also not going to say yes because I do know plenty of other things, and it's one of the ways that they can make us look insane. It's sort of like,
you know what you need to
when they
do,
say
Noah?
like, you know, no, don't believe in chemtrails, but we should believe in chemtrails because the patents exist for particulate matter being ejected from the backs of planes, and because jets actually engage in an open practice called fuel dumping, and because Operation Sea Spray happened where they ejected a bunch of chemicals into the fog over San Francisco in order to bacterially infect the city. One person died.
Those are real conspiracies we should be spreading to the masses.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
Yeah,
I'll tell you another one.
So it's like that, but we could talk about, like, you know, the chemtrails in the insane way that says they're microchips invading our brains, or we could say that it's like a thing Bill Gates has been talking about openly, and here's the discussions where he's been talking about it, and here's the patents, and you're the insane one if you disagree. What were you going to say?
Yes. No, I was going to say, like, Alex Jones exposed a lot of this stuff. I was also going to make a really dumb comment. If you really want to, I was going to say, Noah said the most hilarious thing. Remember when we first were hanging out with Danny, and I liked Nick Fuentes before I was kind of like going on that path, and he basically said Nick Fuentes is the Catholic theocracy version of Ben Shapiro, and Bosch is like the left, and Bosch and Destiny are like the leftist version of that. Like, hi, I'm just here to be an establishment thing for the mouthpiece. I'm Bosch. I'm just gonna say whatever Biden says and regurgitate everything. And hey, do you notice these guys all have really weak voices? Like, there's
Red tube or feds, in my opinion.
And Ben Shapiro, anything the state of Israel does is okay. Okay. And then you get Nick Fuentes. Well, you know, from my mom's basement, I'm going to make a Catholic theocracy. Okay. Everybody has to love America, and they have to love the flag, and they have to love Jesus. And if you don't love Jesus, well, oh my God, we'll ban you, and we'll kick you out. And
you have to be a white Christian, even though I have Mexican ancestry.
Yeah,
Nick
you have to be
Fuentes.
a white Christian.
Well,
And
if
then
you're
Bosch, yeah.
if you're Nick Fuentes, then you also have to fuck a 16-year-old girl.
Right.
No, he's a virgin.
These nonsense be like, Pizzagate, Pizzagate, Pizzagate. Yet they want to fuck teenagers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're no better than James Alefantis, bit.
Yeah, with Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking is getting the midgets. That's not true,
That that
but
that
Nope.
midget thing was just a psyop, in my opinion.
it was. Although
They're literally making fun of us.
the Stephen Hawking memes are funny, though. Can we
I
admit
agree.
that?
No.
Family Guy
But
made a joke about Stephen Hawking faking his illness. Also, which reminds me, Jeff Berwick said that also Jeff Berwick is also a grifter. If he's watching this, do better, Jeff. He basically said Stephen Hawking actually died decades ago, and that they just had a GIMP with the CIA writing the script for him.
oh, that's true. But I do like Jeff Berwick for what he's done, but I've heard he's done some
What?
bad also.
Did he
What?
say that definitively?
I don't know. Jeff Berwick is pushing the Jewish question recently, and also pushing alien narratives as well, I believe.
I like Jeff.
But did Jeff push that? Like, did Jeff actually say that unironically?
I
Like
looked through his Twitter
Hawking
account.
thing?
I looked through his Twitter account, and that was one of his posts. And he also said that the elite eat babies. He's on that train too.
Hey, man, that's okay.
The only babies we're eating is deer babies.
Do they taste good?
Not sure. I haven't had any.
So my thing is, I'm all about conspiracy theories. That being things that are tested and proven. These conspiracy hypotheses are going to keep us in the clouds while people point and laugh. It's bullshit.
Right.
I'm not amused at all.
I mean, look, I think there are some crazy things going on, and I don't think it's all completely fake. To be fair,
Of course, but
um,
I need to know facts before I say it's not.
Right.
Even the
Bohemian
elites are
Grove.
innocent until proven guilty, and ultimately, if you don't adopt this policy, they can lead you down so many dumb fuck rabbit holes, wasting your energy, time, and money, while they get away with the real shit they're doing.
Exactly.
It's factually counterproductive, and if you don't like follow the actual facts, if you allow them to lead you around like this, following chomping at the bit the insane bullshit that can't be proven when like there's so much that can, that doesn't help us.
Right.
So I'm not amused, I'm depressed, I'm angry.
I feel both angry and amused, because while it infuriates me that people are pushing baseless shit, it's also amusing that people will fall for this, especially the boomer and Gen X crowd. No offense to those
hey,
generations.
hey, man, you got to trust the plan with QAnon.
Trust the
QAnon has
plan, trust the science. Two sides of the same coin.
yes, I actually made that thing. The left of that point was trust the science, trust whatever Fauci says. Oh, if you do 10 push-ups and eat pizza all day, you'll get ripped. They're like, Kareem, the science said. Like, the science doesn't say that. Fauci said it. You're just dumb. And then
I remember my coworker from my old job told me about what Fauci was doing in the 80s during the AIDS pandemic, and he told me that Fauci was incredibly homophobic and pushed the AIDS as a gay virus narrative. Is that true? Or
Yes,
yeah,
he
that's true.
specifically said in medical journals that prolonged close proximity with them would cause transmission, which means that
yeah,
basically if you live with a gay person or spend too much time in the same room with them, you will catch the gay AIDS. And that's
he was
literally I
pushing
mean, not
pseudoscience.
literally, that's not literally, but that's like literally his words in a journal. Is like close proximity, prolonged close proximity. So, and also let me find a paper about Fauci actually, because there was a great opinion article about Fauci, and I think
What's
it's
interesting?
fucking great.
We were talking
there was
about
a
like Che Guevara. I found it interesting that there are like people who LGBTQ who like Che Guevara. I'm like, Che Guevara was not pro LGBTQ, and
he
neither
also
was
called Africans monkeys.
yes,
Don't take that out of context.
and I've seen people on YouTube like who were part of the LGBT community like, oh my God, Fauci, he's awesome, and I'm like, no, this guy wants to kill. He hates this dude. Hates you. He's not like you. This is not a good dude. Like all he
So,
cares about
okay.
is making money. I'm gonna go grab some water though. I've been talking for too long.
All right.
So
Um,
this is an open letter to Dr. Well, I'll wait until you're back. You're gonna
I
find
think I
this pretty
read that.
cool,
That
actually.
was pretty great rebuttal
Yeah.
of Fauci's pseudoscience.
I'm gonna go get some mineral water.
Mineral water, fucking hippie.
Fuck that
Yeah,
fluoride.
yeah. I'm a hippie. I'm an and plural man.
I'm gonna put some minerals in my water.
I need to
I,
get my parents to invest in a reverse osmosis filter.
yeah. You know what the
Not
best
only
anarchist?
fluoride, but PFAS and other industrial waste that our government allows to pollute our drinking water.
Yeah. You know what you should do?
Especially
You should.
since like Osmosis Jones, like that had pedo lyrics.
Kid Rock, yeah, Kid Rock is a pedophile for sure.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
like
Hey, he loves
like
America, man. He's like, you talk about
well,
America.
Most astroturfed artist.
no, but like Kid Rock like literally did a song with I forget who else, but basically this song included a line, and like I'm not making this up. That for a kids movie, this was a song in a kids movie. It was like "Cool Baby Cool," and the song had a line, "I like 'em underage." See, that line is in a song that was in a kids movie. I'm not making this up.
I
I
don't
know
believe
you're
you.
not. I know this as well.
I would believe it as well. I need some water though.
All right,
I'm
when you're back, I
dying.
will start reading.
All right.
Meanwhile, yeah, basically the whole thing, like the whole thing with like the Moppin fucking Hinkle situation, a lot of these people don't want you to talk about their less like. I mean, you want to talk pedophiles. You know about Scott Ritter because you've been following me long enough, and you've been like
Yeah.
keeping an eye on my posts about it, right? So you know that
Libertarian
Scott Ritter is
Party.
a
Libertarian
Scott Ritter's not.
Party Mises Caucus. The Mises Caucus wants to continue affiliating with them because he spoke at the Rage Against the War Machine event.
Well, he didn't actually. They like a bunch of us successfully pushed him out, but a lot of people in the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus don't have a problem with him. And like he's a twice like this isn't even conjecture. This isn't like rumor. This is a twice convicted child predator.
Right.
And like when you bring this up, a whole lot of people are just like, well, he didn't do anything though. He just got
Making
caught in the
excuses.
process of trying to do something. And it's like, yeah, so
Like
did
that's any
everybody on
better.
To Catch a Predator. Do you want them to get away with it?
I heard that show. No, that show actually got
Like, who
canceled
cares if
because a
it
lot of
go?
To Catch a Predator actually got canceled because they kept catching a lot of cops and other officials caught trying to hook up with minors.
So there was that element of it. But there was a primary element of it where he was like one of the people that he caught shot himself when they got to the house. And
Mm.
that caused rating problems. And then the rest of the show, there were a series of like frauds and scams associated with Chris Hansen, and nobody wants to work with him anymore.
Yeah.
And he sucks at what he does, especially when he tried to transition to YouTube. And so like all of these things, it really exposed how Chris Hansen himself isn't a good person. And the fact that somebody has like allegedly a good mission does not in fact mean that we should give them a pass on everything else or not look into how they're doing what they're doing. Methodology is important. But like either way, I mean, these people who are defending Scott Ritter, they would just let everybody get away with it because they didn't actually hook up with a kid, did they? No, they wanted to. And the fact that they were trying to act on it should say everything. And it should mean that we shouldn't have them affiliated with our shit. They should stay away from high schools and anybody who acts like they protect children. Like these people are like, oh, the LGBT are groomers. And then they're totally fine aligning with groomers like Scott Ritter or Andrew Tate or Tristan Tate.
Right.
Or
Jack Lloyd isn't
people
going to
like
like me
Pearl
saying
Davis who say that. Go.
Jack Lloyd isn't going to like me talking shit about Tom Woods, but he's a groomer as well.
15 is a little young to start getting on the phone like that. Don't you think? Everybody who allegedly hates groomers.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking asinine. These are the movements that we have.
I'm not gonna lie. I met Tom Woods. I'm skeptical of that a little bit. I like Tom Woods.
Tom Woods and
I'm not skeptical of it because he said so.
Pete Quinones. Whatever. He's not going to watch this. Fuck him too.
Well,
dude literally fell down the. Sorry.
You're good.
Go ahead.
I'm an ANCAP man. You mean ANCAP?
No, Pete Quinones literally fell down the libertarian to fascist pipeline.
Yeah.
I just watch too many people get co-opted and infiltrated, and I think that the Jackson Hinkle crowd is a prime example because Jimmy Dore, for instance, he had just a volley of lies on one of his podcast episodes about trans people. And he called them like Kurt Metzger, I think his name is, called these called trans people groomers in the same episode. And everything that was said in this episode about trans people was a lie. And I proved it all categorically in a thread. It's one of the reasons I'm doing Freedom Fact Check for Anarchy Unity, because I want to make this like an alternative to Snopes that also calls out a lot of the things that Snopes won't, like individual bad actors individually badly acting. And so like in this particular case, these motherfuckers are fine with like going against LGBT people. But when it comes to people on their own team, they get a pass. Jimmy Dore still willing to work with Scott Ritter, still willing to promote Andrew Tate, even though Andrew Tate also wanted to fuck 16-year-olds and got with a 15-year-old and groomed her into his sex business until she was old enough to move to fucking London.
Right.
And so like the whole deal is like, you know, these people are totally willing to personally affiliate with some of the scum of the earth and then tell you that, oh no, actually the wokes are bad because they're the scum. That's a prime example. And it's like, it's the same thing in go.
Even if you don't believe that Andrew and Tristan Tate are sex traffickers, well, they are anyway. But you got to acknowledge that the way they got rich is scummy enough because they were literal pimps
and scammers. Like they would literally lie these dudes out of their money, and this is considered the peak of masculinity. Fuck the peak of masculinity. Then I will be my own version of masculine.
Right.
And so, and like on a similar train to the Tates, you've got H. Pearl Davis saying 16-year-olds are hotter than 26-year-olds. And making a song advertising Nick Fuentes and Nazism. And Nick Fuentes says he wants a pristine, innocent, untouched 16-year-old so that he can bang her without condoms, quote, go crazy. And we've got Matt Walsh, who says 16-year-old girls are adults, and he doesn't care about
modern. We're not making this shit up. They said it on camera.
Yeah, and he has theocratic fascist in his Twitter bio.
Yeah, and we've got all of these people grifting that they oppose groomers. No, you fucking don't. No, you talk about sterilization. Oh no, birth crisis, sterilization. They're going to sterilize us and stop us from having kids. You shouldn't have kids. You shouldn't be around kids. You should have
Yeah.
an ankle monitor.
Paleo-libertarians and Hoppians on suicide watch. They're going to meme us pathetically. Just watch.
I don't fucking care.
Me neither.
I've been
Hey, Hoppians like me.
I've been the subject of memes before. I don't give a shit.
I'm down with some Hoppa. I'm down with some Hoppa.
I'm
I have
not down
reason.
with the Hoppians who act more like Nazis than actual ANCAPs.
I don't like immigration because Democrats are in my opinion going to use these people to try and keep themselves in power and then try and ban militias.
You think voting works? Okay, sure.
I
Blame
do-
immigrants. Don't blame the system.
Bro, immigration bad because them filthy Mexicans. Don't take this out of context. Vote Democrat, and that's bad because we're Republicans. Or at least we want to get rid of the Republicans because they're controlled by them. I try to do the triple echoes in real time.
Them. Yeah, like, I hate that shit. No, immigration is not the problem. The social safety net is not the problem. The problem is that the U.S. keeps the war on drugs active, and it
Right.
destabilizes other regions by means of sanctions, trade barriers, like international fucking fucking corruption, and a wide variety of other shit that suppresses any effort for independence in Latin American countries. And then these drugs get shipped over. And then the same thing in all the other countries, like the opium shit that came out of literally them funding the literal Taliban.
Right.
And
they literally had U.S. soldiers guarding poppy fields in Iraq and Afghanistan.
yeah, and this was after they gave them $53 million immediately prior to 9/11.
Right.
And
And at least two of the confirmed hijackers were confirmed to be CIA trained. Jacobin reported on this, and no mainstream media outlet has reported on that, as far as I'm aware.
to be fair, Jacobin is a pretty mainstream outlet. But at the same time, what I'll say is, if that is true, and these hijackers were confirmed to be CIA trained, then fine. But also, there's a part of me that doesn't buy that particular part of the narrative, because it's like, so these people were CIA trained to what? Die? I feel like that's not the case. I feel like these people were probably just patsies that were part of the whole CIA program and let through so that the US could enact their real agenda. I think whoever was actually responsible for that probably got away with it.
Right.
So, but that's the thing. Like, you start to realize these connections and you start to realize how deep the corruption goes, and it stops being about, like, Democrats. Like, fuck that. The Democrats are on the same team as the Republicans. Speaking of which, one moment.
Hold on, I gotta get some water. I'll be back.
All right. Once he is back, I will read an open letter to Dr. Anthony Fauci. This is on the River Campus Library's Rare Books and Special Collections AIDS Education Posters. And this was written in 1988. So 4 years after Big Brother. So basically, the background of this is that Fauci had been sanctified by a wide variety of people, and he's not a good person. He's not a good person at all. And this open letter says quite a bit about why basically the LGBT community didn't approve of him as implicitly as many other people did. So And also, I've got glass noodle vermicelli, and I've got turkey that I made like yesterday, and a bunch of tomatoes, some eggs, some cheese, and I just
Is
ate
it
the
ramen?
broccoli. No, this is mung bean noodles. It's glass noodle vermicelli. It's low glycemic index noodles that'll digest more slowly and be good for my gut microbiome.
It's the pro and prebiotics.
No, just pre. I mean, probiotics are the fermentation things, but I don't really need those because I got a pretty healthy gut microbiome. Um, I'll be having that with some of my bone powder because I turn the bones left over after I make bone broth into powder and save it so that I can have the minerals that are in the bones as well. So, all right. So, an open letter to Dr. Anthony Fauci. Quote: You are responsible for all government-funded AIDS treatment research. In the name of right, you make decisions that cost the lives of others. I call the decisions you are making acts of murder. Larry Kramer. Anthony Fauci, you are a murderer and should not be the guest of honor at any event that reflects on the past decade of the AIDS crisis. Your refusal to hear the screams of AIDS activists early in the crisis resulted in the deaths of thousands of queers. Your present inaction is causing today's increase in HIV infection outside the queer community. We are outraged that Project Inform, an organization that supposedly works on behalf of the infected community, would insult us by bringing you to our city. You can't hide the fact that you are nothing but a despicable Reagan era holdover and drug company mouthpiece. With 270,000 dead from AIDS and millions more infected with HIV, you should not be honored at a dinner. You should be put before a firing squad. I'm not endorsing what's in this letter. I'm simply reading it, YouTube. Clinical trials, government sanctioned mass murder of PWAs. Anthony Fauci, you're a murderer because you oversee government sponsored clinical trials that test and retest combinations of immunosuppressive toxic therapies that kill people with HIV. The vast
AZT.
what?
AZT.
The majority of U.S. clinical trials involve worthless antivirals like AZT combined with some other drug, generally another toxic antiviral. What these tests have proven is that you are able to piss away billions of dollars testing dangerous compounds that do nothing to improve the quality of life, to stop opportunistic infections, or to extend survival for people with HIV. AZT, 3TC, DDL, DDC, D4T, and the current crop of protease inhibitors are nothing but poison. 10 years of the plague has shown us that trying to kill the virus kills people with AIDS. And you, Dr. Fauci, know it. How long will it take you to start focusing on the immune system, how to boost it, and how to prevent the opportunistic infections that are killing people with AIDS? Even you admit that, quote, the immune response against HIV is extremely powerful and is clearly more effective than any of the therapeutic approaches currently available in controlling virus replication, end quote. Still, you give your blessing to clinical trials of highly profitable toxins that destroy PWA's already compromised immune systems. CD4s and viral load, a marketing exec's wet dream. Anthony Fauci, you are a liar because you have known for years that CD4 counts are a travesty of surrogate marker that, through the drug company coercion, have been elevated to the status of a standard. Now that everyone else knows it too, you and your corporate drug company cronies are urging researchers to foist another useless marker, peripheral blood vial load counts, on our frightened, desperate community. Peripheral blood viral load fluctuates in blood circulation and offers virtually no indication of the health or disease progression in HIV plus people. According to a recent article in the April 1995 issue of Lancet concerning viral replication, quote, the principle that virus suppression will produce a major clinical benefit must remain an article of faith, end quote. Information like that isn't stopping doctors of death. like Marcus Conant, from insisting that, quote, patients should be treated earlier with combination therapy, and we should be using markers such as PCR and branch DNA to measure viral load as surrogate markers in clinical trials, end quote. Sounds familiar. Your scheme isn't difficult to figure out. Promote another invalid surrogate marker that has no relation to health or life expectancy of PWAs. Develop a test that costs 200 to 300 to measure this invalid marker. Encourage the creation of more deadly drugs that affect this invalid marker. And then compare the pathetic results you get from these deadly drugs to the more pathetic results you got from AZT and other nukes. In the eyes of the government, everybody wins. Companies that sell drugs and market tests get rich, and PWAs who sacrifice their bodies in your trials of death are eliminated from the face of the earth. The fact that your clinical trials aren't meant to save lives is no secret. A December 1994 BETA article, quote, a remarkable combination. A December 1994 BETA article, quote, a remarkable combination, AZT plus 3TC, end quote, reports that phase 2 and 3 studies of these drugs were, quote, designed to evaluate the effect of the combination on laboratory markers of HIV disease progression, such as viral load and CD4 counts, not critical endpoints such as opportunistic infections and survival, end quote. AIDS activists from ACT UP San Francisco and DNCB Now have been AIDS activists from ACT UP and San Francisco and DNCB Now have been screaming for over a year that HIV plus people need to activate their cell-mediated immunity and raise their CD8 counts. These activists were invited to the NIH to present a forum and share their knowledge and experience with researchers. Finally, some researchers are coming around and hearing our voices. Doctors like Susan Buchbinder, who in the August 1994 issues of AIDS stated that, quote, elevated levels of CD8 cells in healthy long-term HIV plus individuals suggest that these cells play an important role in delaying disease progression, end quote. Because of your 1995 annual review of immunology article, we know that you know this, Dr. Fauci, but you still prattle on about these CD4s that tell us nothing at all. Selling out from murderer to Tony. One thing that 10 years of the plague has taught us is how easily people and organizations can be bought off. You are one of those people, Dr. Fauci. Project Inform is one of those organizations. During this time of crisis, you are complacent, part of a government bureaucracy that values thriving pharmaceutical company entrepreneurism over the health of people with HIV. You are a pill-pushing pimp that cooperates with drug companies, enforcing dangerous concoctions down the throats of a desperate community that is brainwashed into believing that taking a pill, any pill, will help them. AIDS drugs are not sold to help people, they are sold to make a profit. The situation is so out of control that drug companies now create and sell drugs like Marinol, a synthetic derivative of the natural compound marijuana. The conflict of interest so apparent between you and the pharmaceutical corporations has now been embraced by those in the AIDS community who claim that they are leaders. In their present states, organizations like Project Inform, San Francisco AIDS Foundation, and ACT UP Golden Gate are all so embroiled in conflict of interest that they must be viewed as enemies by PWAs. Project Inform is still pushing AZT. San Francisco AIDS Foundation's BETA reads like a promo piece for Glaxo. And many of today's so-called AIDS activists are nothing more than public relations representatives whose job it is to create a demand for the latest overpriced cure du jour. In the meantime, grassroots efforts like the AIDS Cure Act are assailed by these sellout AIDS organizations that have no desire to see a cure, ever. 10 years of hope? Fuck that. Try a decade of death and greed. Go back to Washington, you bastard.
Is that it?
Yep. That was in
Seems
the
pretty
80s.
spot on. I would believe that. Seems pretty spot on.
I love hearing that rage because sometimes it feels like I'm one of the only people that's like actively this angry at shit. And it's like, no, in fact, Just read this thing from the 80s.
Yeah.
Imagine being told by the queer community that you should be put in front of a firing squad.
I mean, honestly, the bigger thing is to get rid of the NIH, to get rid of all of these. To me, I've gotten better advice from influencers on Instagram like Dr. Saladino than, even though I'm not full carnivore, I've gotten better advice from Instagram influencers who are not very good in the fitness community. Liver King gives better health advice than Fauci. He does. He legitimately does. Liver King actually has very good health advice, except his personal practices. He didn't say to do that, though. He has that, but
you should use a TENS unit because you did too much to your body and you bitched out.
That's still better than Fauci.
You should get injections so that your body is consistently red.
I'm just saying, look, his personal practices are not good.
You should do a round of tens
you
of
should get the
thousands
latest
of
COVID
steroids
booster.
a month.
You know what?
I'm Dr. Fauci. You should get the latest COVID booster so that your immune system turns into a fucking pay-to-win service like The Sims.
I'm Dr. Fauci.
You should. Well, let me rephrase that. You should get the COVID vaccine booster so that your immune system becomes a subscription model, much like World of Warcraft.
Anyway, time for me to do my version of Liver King that involves no steroids whatsoever. I'm going to eat some bone powder.
Good morning, primals. It's prime time. So here's what we're having for dinner today. We're having a whole beast protein shake. And we got some carbs over here. We got a whole pig over here from Chef Lionel. You know, Liver King. Liver King doesn't skip. All right, this is what Liver King is having for dinner. Liver King, out.
No steroids required.
I mean, maybe a little bit, just like 12 grand worth of them.
I got to get back on that workout routine, not going to lie.
Yeah, you look good.
I'm all about doing what's necessary in order to not need bipolar medication. And this sort of regimen keeps me off of it.
You know what you need to do? You need to find anarcho-monarchists and then find a good king to keep you
Oxymoron. J.R.R. Tolkien was the only true anarcho-monarchist.
We could bring it back. Be like, I'm going to be the king, but I'm just going to do self-defense and help you guys out with these issues. But I'm really an anarchist.
Imagine if ANCOMs were allowed to speak at Anarcho-Polko.
Or are they not? But
I don't know. A lot of the folks in that camp don't consider the pre-Rothbardian anarchists to be legitimate, except maybe Spooner.
But here's the thing. You know where I saw one of Keith Preston's first interviews? With Jeff Berwick. And actually, Keith said, because Jeff Berwick said exactly what I thought he was going to say when I'm an ANCAP. Aren't Antifa and everybody just a bunch of crazy, people? Aren't those ANCOMs and those syndicalists just a bunch of, like smash stuff up and hate property rights? He's like, well, he said, like, no. I mean, there's some bad people in that camp, but he said there are legitimate people who on the left who are anarchists, and that works. And he's like, okay, well, if they're going to do it voluntarily, I don't know if they would. That's an interesting question. I know there's some people. Well, Max Egan is good. Max Egan's excellent, and he spoke there. He's not. I don't think he's an ANCAP, is he?
I don't know. Didn't Max Egan defend Hitler multiple times?
No.
I don't know. I don't trust
know.
Jackson.
I don't know, but I'd be interested to see if you could find a source on that.
I don't know. I'll try to find a video on BitChute later.
All right.
Oh, well,
I still don't trust him because I don't know. He's talked shit about Jewish people so many times. I start to suspect that he's an infiltrator or something.
Wouldn't be surprised. There's plenty of those.
but
Plus, he
they
did
have
an interview with someone from the hate group Goyim Defense League.
Yep.
okay,
That's a
but
mistake.
also he has had Larkin Rose, so I have no problem with Larkin Rose. Larkin Rose is a good dude.
Larkin's cool. I'm not going to talk shit about him.
Yeah, I've never had a bad thing to say about Larkin Rose that I know. So,
Oh,
who else has been it?
Jeff
Adam
had
Coquette.
Lauren Southern in one time.
Huh?
Jeff Berwick had interviewed Lauren Southern.
Lauren Southern, I don't know about.
She's not in our camp at all. She's more of the alt-right type of shit.
Okay.
I just tweeted out the letter to Anthony Fauci because I figure it's something that people should probably read.
I agree.
Maybe
you should send me the link so I can post it on my Facebook timeline.
All right.
He also said at the very beginning of the pandemic, I didn't make an error saying that masks do not work, and then he flip-flopped.
Yes.
Well, yeah,
but
that's
they'll
what
say, but not lefties, liberals will say, oh, the science changes. Oh, we had the science from the Spanish influenza pandemic. How would it change from 100 years ago to now? If we're talking about masking against a virus that may or may not have come from a biolab in Wuhan.
Yeah. So, this is my deal. I have seen too much in the way of like statism, being excused, and too much like outright propaganda being pushed by these people. Like, if what I'm so Hinkle, he cried about GTA 6. This is a grift.
Yeah.
Or GTA 5.
So did the Tates. They cried about GTA 6, even though they're the embodiment of the satire.
Like GTA 6 is horrible, but hey, this is what I do. So
GTA 6 is Zionist, which I've never understood. Also, I got into an argument about on a Cuphead Illuminati exposed video, and this guy in the comments said that Cuphead is Zionist. I said, no, it's not, and then he called me a Jew.
Did they have a reason to say Cuphead was Zionist? What the fuck?
Because allegedly Cuphead is satanic because the devil's in it. And if you've played Cuphead, you know that that they have. God damn it! I forgot the plot of Cuphead, but whatever. It's a good game. Go play it. One of the best.
Because just having Satan in it does not mean it's a Zionist plot. That's the thinnest, worst garbage that I've ever seen.
I agree. I also remember reading that Saudi Arabia or some country in the Arab world had Pokemon banned because of alleged links to Zionism. What? Pikachu, use land theft. It was super effective.
Well,
Palestinian child is dead.
If Pokemon is linked to anything, it's the literal CIA. Have I told you about this?
Oh, you're talking about Pokemon Go, but the rest of the series seems.
I'm sorry, Noah. That's hilarious. Pikachu uses land theft. It's super effective. Pikachu uses playing the victim.
If you're gonna use Zionist, use it meaningfully and not in a dog whistle way.
if I wanted to talk about Zionist agendas, there are so many games closer to that. Like, for instance, the fucking Call of Duty series, reframing who was responsible for the Highway of Death.
Yeah, it wasn't Russia. It was U.S.
And it was U.S. at the behest of basically, Zionist foothold regimes.
Right. Todd is literal CIA propaganda that I avoided. Not many games I could accuse of being fed propaganda or advised by the Department
Call of Duty
Defense.
is definitely fed. There's a Call of Duty game where you fight Qasim Soleimani or something like that. I'm like, man.
I think that was Modern Warfare 2019.
Yeah, I'm like, how annoying did and they're like, oh, it's not the same. I'm like, dude, it is the same looking guy, and you gave him a different name. Like this is
and he's Russian, and he's Russian instead of Iranian.
Yeah, but and even Tom Clancy was like, the government sucks. Then every video game he makes is like, America beats Russia. And even I've noticed when you play in that game, the Russian team is worse than the American. It just
another tangent. Splinter Cell versus Metal Gear. Razorfist hates Metal Gear and anything Kojima related, and he loves to shill for. He's a conservative, but he shills for Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell, you work for the government. In Metal Gear Solid, Snake realizes that the government isn't his friend. And then the second game, the whole second game is thematically rich. Everything ties into conspiracy, censorship, memetics, the whole 9 yards. Absolutely perfect game. Justin Padini, if you're watching this, well, yeah, you'd recommend that game too.
I prefer just saying both, especially since Splinter Cell is what introduced me to the stealth genre when I was very young.
Metal Gear Solid was my introduction to stealth games.
So Metal Gear, it's like it's more stylized. Like any game where you can hide under a cardboard box and like move around under it is stylized. Splinter Cell always tried to take itself a lot more seriously. And I have no problem with the stylization. I'm a Kojima person. Personally, I prefer Silent Hill if I'm going the Kojima route. But the whole deal with and also I'm looking forward to Kojima's new OD game. I don't know what that's about, but
if we're gonna make an argument about
the general thing involving Splinter Cell versus MGS is that Splinter Cell, you have to actually use real world military tactics all the time. In MGS, you use some absolutely, but it's also kind of cartoonish.
It's also an action adventure game on top of a stealth game.
Yeah, whereas Splinter Cell's very much just you have to actually use tactics. People who've been in the military are gonna prefer Splinter Cell because it's I know this shit. This shit is real.
Right. In Chaos Theory, there's a level which contains a room that if you shoot in any direction, the whole room explodes. That's a nice attention to detail.
Yeah, and the whole thing, eventually, little spoilers, eventually the government pushes him too far and he lashes out at them. So it's not like it's 100% just entirely a pro-government message. You're constantly pushing the line. You're constantly finding new ways that you might hate the state. And Sam Fisher as a character evolves over time.
I apologize if I blindly assumed Splinter Cell was propaganda.
Well, it's got elements. See, the thing is, okay, so the first game you start out with Splinter Cell, and he gives the message. He's talking about there's a fifth freedom to protect all other freedoms, and that fifth freedom is basically you can kill people and get away with it. So not only are you an assassin, but you're also a spy. And in the commission of both of these roles, you might do some extraordinary rendition, or as normal people call it, torture. You might do some illegal hacking. Yeah, illegal hacking of computers. You might throw somebody off the edge of a cliff. You might, find ways to disappear people by putting a bag over their head and throwing them a black site. There's
Yeah,
so many things that Splinter Cell does. The thing I appreciate about Splinter Cell is its honesty. And while it's using entirely fictional characters, it's very honest about the kinds of brutal and sinister and cruel things that the US government can do, and you have to get into the mindset of somebody who does that for a living to do the game effectively. And I'm not quite mentally stable, so that's exactly where my head can go easily. And so when
Well,
I played that game, I was like, yeah, I would do that. And let me see if that's possible in this game. Hey, it worked. That was terrible. I love this.
yeah. The Hitman series has a lot of creative assassinations.
Yeah, although the Hitman series is stylized too. The whole point of Hitman is to have fun. The point of Splinter Cell is to you know, get gritty with it. That's the thing.
Right.
Like, I don't mind Hitman.
can I
Don't
go
get me
back in
wrong. I don't
conspiracy
mind
theory?
MGS. Don't get me
Or
wrong. I don't even mind stylization. But if I'm gonna go the stylized route for conspiracies, for me, the gold standard is Deus Ex. It will always be.
Yeah.
Deus Ex Machina is excellent, but
Well,
I
no,
was gonna
Deus
make
Ex. Not Machina. Deus Ex is a video game series.
okay. Oh yeah, I've seen. What was I
I've
gonna
gotten
say?
tired of Deus Ex Machina as a trope in media.
So two games that are extremely accurate. Um, well, not extremely accurate, but one that Silent Hill, the cult of Silent Hill, is much how the very high elites operate in their
Yes.
rituals.
Hey, you know.
I do. I do because the seed of God and like yeah because I really like the Silent Hill 3.
And
Also,
child sacrifice too.
yes, hey Earthy, but the game that is the most accurate that I have played that describes human events and the Anunnaki, which Mark Passio I do believe is right about, is the series of Assassin's Creed. The Templars are basically the Zionists, or the ruling elite class who had and the ruling elite class talk like the Templars, like, oh, if we had power, every Cecil Rhodes probably didn't say I want to enslave all humanity like that. He said, well, if you give us all the power, and Fauci talks like this too. Well, if you give us, we're smarter than you. Look, I'm Ivy League, so if you give me all the power, I make all the decisions, everything will be better. And Bill Gates thinks like that too.
Hey, could you
So
elaborate on the Silent Hill thing? I'm interested in hearing your thoughts.
Oh, have you played
so
Silent Hill before? Hey, also big fucking spoiler shit on this garbage. Like, if anybody is watching this that hasn't played Silent Hill, don't watch this part yet. Go fucking play the games first. Spoiler
okay.
alert. But
Yeah,
have you any of them, Noah?
have you played? If you haven't
Nah,
played it,
I'm more of a
so
Resident Evil guy.
Okay,
I
so
like Resident Evil too, but I can break down the main
yeah,
ideas of Silent Hill, and
and
then
I'll fill in
you can
whatever
see.
gaps.
So, like, and I'll start with Alex Jones back in the day uncovered like people doing. The first time he uncovered something called Bohemian Grove, where they do
Yeah,
an
I know
effigy
about
in
that.
front of Moloch called the cremation of care. And I started telling people, hey, I think the elites are doing a little bit more than just spending your tax dollars. Even Madison Cawthorn, who was a senator from North Carolina, said, like, hey, they invited him to these weird rituals. And now that people are seeing it, they actually understand it. So,
I don't
um,
know if the cremation of care is an actual human sacrifice. It's supposedly an effigy, which is bad enough.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
It, it,
and
sacrificing an effigy is dark occult shit on its own.
Yeah.
Uh,
but
I'll have to hear Kareem's response.
so okay, so let me break down the plot of Silent Hill.
How it
Um,
relates to the ruling class. That's what I
correct,
want to
correct.
hear about.
So Silent Hill basically is a town that the natives cursed, in my opinion, that has a huge fog over it that opens up a world called Otherworld, which is an inverted world of ours.
Smoke.
Um,
It's
smoke.
filled with ash. It's
It's
smoke and
filled.
ash.
It's filled with ash, so it was cursed, and you can say that's due to alien burial grounds. They come with, but that's what I believe, native burial grounds and things like that. Um, a woman named Dahlia Gillespie has a daughter, and she wants to bring back what she believes is a god. Now, it's not really a god; it's just a very weird, demonic-looking thing that's hidden in this cube called a Tetranomenon, I think is the name of it. And she tries to sacrifice her by setting the house on fire, but a truck driver finds her in the first one and saves her. But she's in very bad condition, and actually, she's technically possessed in that point. So you go as that truck driver, you start to see demons and everything appear. You start to see that this is part of the conspiracy, and the doctors are also in it. You can actually think of the doctor like Dr. Fauci. Lisa's
Mhm.
there. Lisa's actually a good person. So like maybe that could be like a Fauci aide who's a good person who knows what he's doing but doesn't say anything. He eventually defeats the demon. And what this girl does is take her soul and rip it in pieces and then put a baby version of herself. And then the first Silent Hill, Harry, the protagonist, finds her on the road, and then eventually her soul leads her back to the cult of Silent Hill, where he learns a lot. Like there was sacrifice in this town, that they were killing kids, they were doing a bunch of different crazy stuff. He fights like all the demons and things in outer world, and then he eventually runs into her again. Depending on how you played the game, Sybil Bennett, if you saved Sybil Bennett, the cop, which is ironic, but nevertheless, that will turn into it turns into a demon. Then eventually, the doctor shoots Dahlia Gillespie because he gets sick of her. Kind of like it's like they're tired of, hey, you're a cultist and you're not doing anything. The thing that's very interesting is that pushes it to the elite. The doctor has made the demon drugs. Go figure, right? So big pharma. Dahlia
Mhm.
Gillespie's a ruling elite in that sense. She's doing crazy rituals. She's hiding things, and she has this belief. Then, if you go to the second one, doesn't have the Cult of Silent Hill, but it's a good game. Then the third one, the Cult of Silent Hill is back, and then she tries to revive this demon thing, but eventually she has a locket that Harry gave her dad, and she swallows that. What's quote unquote God comes out, and then she ingests that. That's the final boss, and then technically the cults thought to be destroyed after the fourth game. I went over a bunch of points, but if you play Silent Hill 3, you hear like, oh, so and so's a non-believer. They don't believe. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in this, which really are just demonic entities. Now, if you take the concept of those demonic entities, oh, you don't believe in the state, you don't believe in big pharma, you don't believe in authorities, you don't believe in what they're saying, um, and also the rituals you'd have to see. They're very creepy, even though I like the little guitar thing at the beginning. The rituals, in my opinion, emulate the cremation of care, and also emulate sacrifice to bring what the cult calls their god back.
Well,
And
also very
uh,
specifically,
sorry,
like
did I do okay with that analysis?
yeah, there's so the thing is that they're specifically they relish pain. They
Yeah.
worship pain. And the whole thing with them is that they believe that the purest pain can be produced by the death of a child, and that will give them the energy necessary to bring back heaven,
Yes.
so that the deities that they worship will retake the earth, and they will be able to serve alongside them. So they don't mind the concept of dying. They don't mind the concept of these kids dying, because it's all designed to bring back what the order that they see as just. And the pain that is caused by this, they just see that as a necessary lubricant for the trans. So to me, this sounds like the same kind of murder cultism that the state operates on, the same
Mhm.
kind of blood cult bullshit that these motherfuckers run on, the kinds of shit that makes them okay with mass murder campaigns disguised as just wars, the kinds of shit that make them okay with shooting people in acts of police brutality and then letting them get away with it, the kind of shit that lets them be okay with baking people's brains in the MK programs and getting away with it, syphilis experiment, any number of other terrible things that they've done to people. Um, Fucking they're okay with it because the pain, death, the all of this is just blood for the blood god, proverbially speaking.
Yeah, to
And
bring God back.
yeah, to bring back their power, to
Yeah.
bring to bring back the ancient power that their ancestors had and that they want again. They're trying to immortalize the power that their ancestors had and bring it back. And I'm saying they because if I say it that way, you can't tell if I'm talking about the cult or if I'm talking about the elites in the real world, because they do this shit. And the whole
They
thing
do
is
do
very
this.
parallel. Hideo Kojima, I think, is very angry at the way things are, and I think he was trying to send messages with that game, and I think he was honestly kind of pissed that the messages didn't get sent properly, that they didn't get received by the people who played it. Because if more people understood Silent Hill, holy fucking shit, would there be so many more people on the right track.
Yeah,
Also,
but
what do you mean by ancestors?
I mean, like, so a lot of these people, a lot of the elites in the real world, they're old money, blood money motherfuckers
I agree.
operating under the same, like, elite.
Rockefeller, I'll do.
Yeah, like, all. And so if you trace it back, it's all along the same lines of power. Like, almost every U.S. president is traceable to royalty, like specific
Yep.
English royalty. Um, like, the American government wouldn't exist without the French government, which wouldn't exist without the transfers of power and the blood rituals that took place in order to carve up Africa and destroy the Near East. Um,
Right.
hmm,
like, all this shit happened in order to establish the current order, the neoliberal thing. Russians have a huge amount of Asian blood, which is why their eyes are more similar to Asiatic eyes than they are to European eyes.
Right.
Um, like, all these traditions that got, like, sort of watered down to the point where they're here, and a lot of the power elite come from these old money, blood money families that really believe that they got fucked out of their power unjustly and that they need to rise back up and retake what's rightfully theirs. And they'll do whatever it takes,
yeah,
however many people need to die, however many people suffer, whatever pain needs to be brought. The pain is just a lubricant for their power to retake. So they're just like, fuck you, baby, in the Middle East. You don't need to live. And so, like, that's the thing. It's like very much just they're baking their murderous psychopathy, demonic, evil bullshit into the way things are.
yeah,
And this is true of, like, a variety of races. There is no one group of people that's responsible, and if anything, the people who are authentically responsible would really want you to believe that. So
Mhm.
anybody who says that it's just the Jews is fucking stupid. Anybody who says that
Agree.
it's just China is stupid.
Right.
Anyone who says that it's just Russians, is a Russian op, everybody's a Russian bot, is stupid. It's all the same kind of game that they're playing in order to diversify their power so that all their old kingdoms and fiefdoms and fucking terror campaigns and all their old shit can rise back up from the ashes of a world that they're destroying and a global population they're enslaving and killing, all
Mhm.
this blood draining into a collective fucking sigil so that we can have the rising of the old gods and a resurgence of their old power.
Right.
That's the same shit that Silent Hill was talking about, and nobody gets it
yeah. Well,
except for Ram.
I mean, a perfect example of like who somebody like Fauci would be like is Vincent in 3, and even Heather Mason asked Vincent like, by doing all this, are you bringing back God or the devil? And he says, huh, whichever one you like. And
Because he
actually,
sees them as the same thing.
yeah. And Vincent actually does turn good right at the end of the game. He's like, Claudia Wolf is insane, take her out. But the problem is like she kills him. So like Claudia Wolf
Whoopsie.
is kind of like the ideologue religious person of like a ruling class. Um, and she's and same with like Dahlia Gillespie. So it's a good plot. Also, the one that's correct is um, the Templars very much resemble the ruling. I think Assassin's Creed is outstanding for a modern game because they explain everything correctly, in my opinion, historically. there were aliens who did modify our DNA, the Anunnaki. And I do believe these bloodlines trace back to the Anunnaki, and that the assassins fighting the Templars is a metaphor for anarchists fighting status. Although I don't think Ubisoft sees it like that, but I do.
Me too.
You do?
Also, the Anunnaki thing, I'll dispute, but not right now.
Okay, that's fair enough. I do believe, for specific reasons, that humans could have. Mark Passio's work is, I don't think, is all bad. I have to give like I said, I give Mark Passio a lot of credit. I found that. I agree with that because there's a lot of
Could you
things.
get Mark Passio on the show?
I would love to. I'd love to debate him on, because he made a thing called fake ass anarchists, and he said hyphenated anarchists are all BS. Steiner's BS, ANCAP's BS, ANCOM's BS, and I never accepted that. And also,
does he know that there's the left hand path and the right hand path in occultism, and that's what he refers to as light and dark?
I think so. Another problem I had with Mark Passio is that I do believe sometimes he comes up with words like me and Jeremy are talking, like government means mind control. It doesn't. I mean, that's an aspect of government, but
I saw the meme that breaks down the etymology of the word government, and I'm not sure. I'm starting to question a lot of things I used to believe.
The thing is, it's dumb. Is what it's mind control. It's folk etymology. It takes the like two roots from two different languages and applies them to the same word in order to say that it means mind control. It doesn't. I mean, it functionally functions as that, but it's one of those things where if you say that, if you start talking this kind of shit, it's going to alienate anybody who actually gives a fuck about facts. And if you want to do that, go ahead. But if you care about facts, then that would be where you would like verify everything.
Also, I think a lot of conspiracists overestimate the Rothschild family. I looked into the claim that they own Reuters, and no, they fucking don't. It's by a group called Thompson or something.
Yeah, I think, like, even though I like David Icke, they're like, oh, the head of the there's actually, I've looked at, there's a lot of different families. There's Pepe Orsini's, there's the Columna, there's definitely the Medici from Assassin's Creed. They own everything.
Wasn't one of the Medici's a pope?
Yes, correct. Correct. Pope. Yeah, the Italian mafia. So here's the thing. There's different families. The Rockefellers did a lot in America, have done more in America to me than the Rothschilds. So like the Rothschilds own everything. The Rothschilds own everything. They control everything. No. Are they responsible for a lot of Zionist stuff? Yes. But like, I think people overestimate like one group or one thing, then they point to it. Like Keith Preston is saying, a lot of people have very basic definitions of anarchy or very basic definitions of the state, and they just go off of that, like, oh, socialism just the government doing stuff, and capitalism is just people making money, and and that this family owns the world and controls everything. Are there powerful bloodlines? Yes. Do they do what me and Jeremy are talking? Yes. Does that mean that the Rothschilds own everything? No, I don't think so. You tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know.
I remember Lysander Spooner called them out in the 1800s, and also Bakunin accused Marx of being a Rothschild, which was funny. Their whole feud within the First Internationale was kind of funny.
I mean, I think there's plenty to throw at Marx that's bad, even regardless of what he was. I mean, he had unfound theories about how to create communal ownership that make no sense. And as far as I'm concerned, he's more of like a state capitalist than an actual guy who wanted real freedom and didn't care about freedom. He just seemed to care about power. He's just a statist. Now the good thing is Bakunin, Kropotkin, Emma Goldman, Rudolph Rocker actually did give a good basis, but the problem is he beat out a lot of his left people on the left who are criticizing him. Now, what's good is we can, in the modern day, we have videos and we have good stuff like that. That if we can spread the right knowledge, we can actually get people to know what real communism is.
Oh, and also just gonna say this. If you really look at the real roots of government, what the real roots of government are, prove me right about AI. Because the real roots of government are the word govern, and it's a verb. It's late 13th century, to rule with authority, and what that like that's the first like known usages, and it's from Old French gouverner, to steer, to be at the helm of, rule, command, direct. From 11th century modern French gouverneur, from Latin gubernare, to direct, rule, guide, and govern. Source also of Spanish gobernar, Italian governare. This is originally to steer, to pilot, a nautical, borrowing from Greek kybernon, to steer or pilot a ship, direct as a pilot, figuratively, to guide, to govern. The root of cybernetics. The K to G sound shift is perhaps via the median of Etruscan. The intransitive sense is attested from
Hold
1590,
on, I'm gonna get
related,
something to eat.
governed, governing. So basically, cybernetics is all about steering the ship. It's about controlling things through, various, and this is a computing term, governors. It's all about trying to create a new cyber world that is controllable. Now, who controls that? There might be a case for cypherpunks. There might be a case for people to be at that helm and be at the bleeding edge and understand it enough to control it for the benefit of the people. But AI specifically, AI is being developed by the elites. AI is bought by the Bilderbergs, the WEF people, the like the military industrial complex. AI is overwhelmingly created to be the cybernetics that comes from kybernon. And so we are heading into an age of actual government mind control from kybernon through cybernetics. And so it's going to become mind control practically, but only because people are too stupid not to use AI. I have to say it. I have to go against AI because it's my axe to grind. I will be going against AI until the day I die.
I'm in the middle.
I don't think there is a middle.
I think there is, and here's why. I'm giving you. I've given the same argument that actually you gave to me. That no, are you still there?
No's getting food.
Oh, okay.
I don't see a middle ground as possible. I think the only thing that attempting to find a middle ground does is give the elites more time and more leash length. I think the elites are total fans of AI because it makes controlling people easier, and the process by which it is programmed and the process by which it is developed are fun, and they can have fun making their fun little funny images on their fun sites and fun
All
generating
right,
their
but
fun
wait,
text,
but
and they
wait.
can have fun with all of this.
First of
And
all,
while
there's a
they're
big,
having fun, they're programming it. And also, while they're having fun on the internet, they also program it through the CAPTCHA system, which is required on most sites. They program it to read text, to recognize images, to replicate images, to replicate people eventually, because they're literally doing that. And to do all of this while the state is literally talking about using it in digital deception campaigns and using the IoT devices, Internet of Things devices that we have so much fun with, that are in our houses being wiretaps that we can just say, here's me being my annoying self. Hey Siri, hey Google, hey Alexa.
All right.
Um, these things are the things that will be controlling all of us. All of us. The AI in our houses listening to our speeches. The AI in our phones reading our emails and
Okay. So
seeing our browsing habits.
can I
The
talk about
AI everywhere on street corners, in cop cars.
no, well, wait, but wait. They got to take, well, let's go to another video game. A good video game that's realistic as well.
Watch Dogs.
No, Fallout. So and hey, a conflict between U.S. and China. Interesting. Right?
Fallout isn't particularly realistic, but go ahead.
No, it's not. But there's one group that I agree with. Well, the Enclave, let's say, is the elites right now that get wiped out. Then we have the NCR. But there's a group I do like called the Brotherhood of Steel. And yes, they have a statist background where they think, hey, the elite should not, or certain people should not be using certain technology, which sometimes I hate to say, sometimes I'm not a statist, but sometimes I agree with the Brotherhood of Steel on some things. Um, I think we should take the technology away from them, just like we're taking DARPA's technology right now and using it for an internet podcast on anarchism.
Well, it's not taking it away from them. In fact, it's very much still empowering the state, and it's being put directly on YouTube, which empowers their algorithms and gives them more money and clicks, and lets them see how people respond to certain segments of certain videos, lets them
We're
gauge
part of the problem.
interactions, reactions. Yes, and so like even this is a
I'm
problem.
Roger.
Even this is a problem.
Hey,
AI
man.
itself, there is nothing approximating AI except Mr. House and the Fallout shit. And there is nothing to say that Fallout should be used as a gauge for our fucking like political thought when everything I just said is true and nothing Fallout has to say directly disproves any of it.
I'm not saying it disproves it. I'm saying, hi, I'm Roger Maxon. Get your suit on. Let's take out the Enclave. Let's take their technology and use it for good.
Okay, so you're not describing how AI can be used for good. And every time I've asked you to do that, you've not been able to.
Would it be
Brotherhood of-
possible to code an anarchist AI theoretically?
The
No,
Brotherhood of Steel will figure it out, Noah.
the anarchist mentality is not the AI mentality. The mentality of autonomy, individualism, and self control is not the same mentality as the mentality that creates an artificial form of intelligence which can be controlled, programmed, and dictated from a central authority. And if it can't be, then the AI operating on a primarily statist set of information would be statist eventually, which is why it always is. Which is why AIs consistently have to be reined in before they start advocating genocide and shit. Because if you just let them scrape the internet, then the information that this AI machine learning shit will get will be directly biased in favor of the state, because the primary sources of information it gets will be weighted toward the state. And if it's not, then it's because you restricted its access to information to only anarchist sources, and that wouldn't be anarchist either, because in order
Right.
to fully be anarchist, you have to understand the problems. You have to understand what the real actual shit with the state is. So there is no way to build an artificial intelligence that operates anarchistically. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work. It never will.
It
And
could.
whenever it doesn't, and it never will. And whenever I bring this up to Kareem, he can't actually find a way to tell me I'm wrong. He just says I'm wrong. That's not convincing for me. And what I do know is that the other day, I had to literally argue with an AI because a guy couldn't argue on his own behalf.
Okay, well, I just did
That's
that.
sad and pathetic. Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, okay, look. I don't know. I guess I need to build an ANCAP AI and see if it actually works that way. That would be, I think that would be fun to do.
Yeah, and you should definitely not restrict it at all, so that eventually also comes to the conclusion that the age of consent should be lowered.
No, that's not anarcho-capitalist. That's definitely look. It's not a Jeremy AI. I said an ANCAP AI.
I
Okay.
need to do more research on AI.
But I do think the Free State Project is good. That being said, I think what New Hampshire is doing is
Yeah, they kicked him out. He got very upset about it.
yeah. So New Hampshire's are doing good. I'd say we're winning. To be fair,
We're
New
not
Hampshire.
winning. The fact that New Hampshire is an edge case of a tiny minority of the US does not mean we as libertarians are winning. The massive vast majority of the globe is statist.
Right.
The massive vast majority of the globe is covered by statist apparatuses, and the vast majority of the globe is run for statist purposes. The money is in the hands of the state, and the state controls all fucking land, all fucking airwaves, all fucking capabilities, with very few exceptions. And even in New Hampshire, this fucking allegedly the highest ranking freedom index state according to Koch funded organizations,
Man,
those people in New Hampshire are still enslaved to the state, and they have not gotten anarchy, and they never will, because that's not how you get anarchy. The Free State Project is an oxymoron, and that's the reason why they're totally okay with consistently accepting people who say that 13-year-olds are an acceptable age to fuck, like Thaddeus Russell and Ian Freeman.
I'm not a fan of those people.
So
But
all I'm saying is we need actual anarchy, and you can't get that with AI, and you can't get that with the state.
no, you can't get that with the state.
And AI is the state. It's part of the mechanisms that they are building in order to control us. That makes it part of the state.
I don't know.
Well, I do know, and I just said the reasons I know. I'm a depressing motherfucker, but I'm right.
What if anarcho trans? Well, I've never met someone who calls them anarcho transhumanist, but I think they do exist.
They do exist, but I don't think that there's a way that they could make an anarchist AI. And what if
Do they
doesn't
use
matter to
AI
me.
though? Because there are
What?
anarchists who are like hacks or
Yeah, but it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me isn't if, what if. What matters to me is looking at how these people actually might claim to do that. I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. What if Hitler converted to Christianity right before he died and he's in heaven smiling down upon us? I don't fucking care. Fuck Hitler anyway.
Okay, fine, but it's not theoretical. I am
It
sure
is theoretical.
there are technical. I'm pretty sure there are techno like me and Keith were talking about that. How do you get the primitivist anarchists who are good as well? Like we had John Zerzan on. How do you get those guys to work with the technical anarchists?
In fact, it's not just theoretical, it's hypothetical, because you're not even pointing to an example. You're saying an example could hypothetically exist.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it exists where there's anarchists who are more technically oriented, transhumanists or not, that use AI. I'd like to see how they're doing it. I really believe that exists.
But we're talking an anarchist AI. Saying that exists isn't good enough. You have to point to the anarchist AI.
I'd have to see how it's done. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Let's stick in hypotheticals. In Sonic, there's an AI character called Nicole the HoloLinks. I drop all of my anti-AI mentalities. This is definitely possible because somebody said so in a book. No, in fact, I'm not going to live in that fairy tale mentality. I'm going to live in the reality that AI is a mechanism for control in its present implementation, and I don't see an alternate implementation as possible.
Master
The
Chief thinks,
HoloLink,
hey man,
HoloLink
Master
is
Chief
not
is in
real.
love with Cortana. That's kind of
Yeah, and that's
That was a
military
man.
propaganda.
Yep.
it is.
Yes, the UNSC are space globalists.
Yeah, they are.
That's literally, so are the Federation from Star Trek, if you think about it.
Yeah. Funny
You know
how
what?
all of these sci-fi things that get really, really mainstream turn
You know
out
what's a really cool game, even though you know what's a really cool game to play from a status perspective, though. Warhammer 40K for the Emperor. I can be a.
Oh, hell
I can
no.
be a. I'll be a. I'll go full fascist or tanky on some Warhammer 40K for the Emperor. Purge the Xenos. If you're non-human, them orcs and those Eldar, you gotta die. We gotta kill off the Tyranids too. For the Emperor. I don't know what the I do like the Dark Marines, the ones that get corrupted from the Void though. They're cool. The Tyranids are good to play too.
or we could just like stick enough to the subject to realize that Warhammer is an actual pretty good example of the military industrial complex and technology taking hold as the primary enforcer and thrust of power and control. And it's a cautionary tale that you should listen to before supporting this shit in the name of anarchist AI that
Right.
doesn't exist.
They're saying I should get a sword with a chainsaw and a gun in one hand because that'd be cool.
I always play Plague Marines.
I like those too. The ones
Never
that
got into Warhammer 40K, to be honest.
You know what? I'm gonna tell the Inquisition you're playing Marines from the Void, and they're gonna show up and be like, "Bruh."
Doesn't matter. Praise Nurgle.
Yeah, the
Never had any friends to play tabletop games with.
Well, we gotta do some actual TTRPG stuff in Tabletop Simulator.
for the
Shit.
Emperor. For the
I don't
Emperor.
know shit about tabletop role playing games.
Since the Emperor doesn't actually exist, but actually, no, it's not status, Jeremy. The Emperor doesn't actually exist. The Emperor died, but the space, huh?
And you can't kill an idea.
So
They deify him. That's the whole point of the Emperor.
Yeah.
but
God
wait,
Emperor.
they're deifying a ruler that doesn't exist, and they're fighting for him. But they
Yeah,
have roles.
because they're
You know
ruled
what that
by
is?
the idea. That's statism. It's a cult. It
No,
always is.
Exactly. I was just about to say that's a metaphor for statism being the most dangerous religion.
Actually, what the Space Marines really are is
That series is unintentionally anarchist. Maybe. I don't know.
Space Marines are anarcho-monarchists. They're like the Emperor, but the Emperor doesn't
And then
exist.
a lot of people miss the whole point of the Imperium of Man and unironically worship them.
And like that's the thing. For me, that's the reason I will oppose AI until I die. Because I saw Terminator 2 when I was too young and it fucked me up.
Right.
And gave me nuclear holocaust and robot overlord nightmares where I'm running from the police and military for a long time now. Like, I've had those dreams for decades now because I saw a movie that really fucked me up. But, like, also, it's true. That's true. Minority Report is true. The Running Man book is true. 1984 and Brave New World are true. Lots of the stuff that came from Black Mirror is true. These are true. So many true things that are being actually made now because of fucking AI.
Fair enough. I know.
And so when I had to argue with an AI the other day, yeah,
Yeah,
that was a an experience where I was seething with hatred the whole time, either gritting my teeth or
yeah.
fucking screaming. Because no, in fact, I do not accept this reality. I do not accept the robot overlords. I do not accept this mentality where we are going to cede our power to these fucks because we got to make the funny image at the same time, or the funny AI voice video, or the funny completely control you and puppeteer your body because we took one photograph of you world, or we saw you on a smart camera, and now because we like control the live feeds and have like technology that we built with AI to make more realistic video game environments, we can now in fact render you committing a crime and broadcast that live to everybody who might want to see it. And this is the Running Man. We're living in the Running Man. We should fucking resist this.
Fair enough.
I mean, The Matrix is one of the most prophetic movies ever made.
Yes,
And
the Matrix is also true.
The AI literally led to the enslavement of humanity. So you have a point.
It does. Andrew Tate will help you break out of the Matrix, though. No,
Andrew Tate should be handed a bouquet of flowers. I hate everything about this society. I hate what people are willing to accept. And I'm pretty sure Noah's on the same page. I mean, this is supposed to be the Noah episode, and I've been talking for a lot of it. But
yeah, what the heck? Yeah, you gotta do it for the Emperor, right, Noah?
Nah, fuck the Emperor.
That ain't cool. What about
Palpatine too? He's a literal dark occultist, the same type that Mark Passio goes on about.
What about purging the Xenos?
I don't know much about Warhammer 40k, just the Imperium of Man.
Because I don't know what purge the Xenos means. Well, I think purge the Xenos means kill non-human entities, but I'm not sure.
Space racism is fun, right, kids?
Essentially, that is what it is. Although the Eldar annoy the crap out of me, and they suck, so they can die.
Halo is literally space UN versus religious zealots.
Yeah, space UN versus religious.
Well, even the thing I like the most is probably has some suspect things said in it, like when Shadow the Hedgehog video game came out, and he finishes like a level with a sufficiently good grade. He says, "Disgusting black creatures, get out of my sight." So I mean, even stuff by Lake has a problem in something in some ways, like some bad translations. These were the alien race is called the Black Arms, and so yeah, when they translated that over, it didn't end well for not sounding racist.
Wow. Right. That sounds worse than Purge the Xenos.
At least it does.
At least Purge the Xenos sounds kind of like Latin-y, like, hey, kids. And to be fair, it's not technically they're not the other races are hostile. Like the orcs are trying to kill you, the Eldar are trying, and the Tyranids are trying to kill you. It's not like they're like, oh man, let's be peaceful. It's like, hey, we want to murder you. It's like who can murder who first. And
which is why a lot of real world fascists love the Warhammer series, because thinking of the enemy that your government orders you to kill as fundamentally subhuman and different to you justifies it in their mind. They're already doing that. They already do that for the purposes of their xenophobic, jingoistic regimes.
I mean, I like Warhammer and I'm an anarchist, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, what I'm saying is that a lot of people who do like Warhammer unironically want a God Emperor. So those people can go fuck themselves.
The people I saw playing Warhammer were primarily like people in hobby shops who played Magic. And those tend to actually to be on the left. They didn't want a God Emperor. Some of them actually, to be fair, some of them liked Biden over Trump, but they didn't really like Biden. So you can call them like progressives. Progressives were the biggest people I've seen in Warhammer.
What you should do is you should actually go to Warhammer forums and you should go to the places online where people who say they like Warhammer and know all the lore and collect the minis, like, you should go there. You'll find fascists, a lot of them.
Maybe, but I don't know if I'd ask, hi, how's it going? Like, do you like the
Oh.
Eldar? Like, yeah, by the way, are you?
You don't need to. You just need to look at their other posts.
What are they going to say? Something about, like, oh, yeah, I throw Eldar out of a helicopter or something.
No, they'll be talking about a real world subject from an authorite perspective.
Okay.
Either way, I think Noah might be tired. I see the phone pointed at the ceiling.
Yes, I'm tired. Noah, you all right? Or do you want to end it?
Maybe just left the room temporarily?
Maybe he went to go find the Emperor.
Hmm.
Because we got to do it for the Emperor.
Oh, there it is. The housemate threw me something that the neighbor threw him for helping them, and he didn't
You know what's
want
a good anti-statist video game, though?
Hmm.
Final Fantasy VII. Because Shinra is like, if you really look at what Shinra is, it is a private corporation, but it acts very much like a government. They have security force, everything. Sephiroth is a result of Shinra trying to destroy the planet near the Avalanche. If you look at that in modern anarchist terms, Shinra is NATO, cause a problem. BRICS is Sephiroth. Now you've unleashed a crazy thing on it. And anarchists are Avalanche, essentially. Is that a fair analysis?
Wait, wouldn't it make sense for Wu Tai to be BRICS since they're literally at war?
Yeah, Wu Tai, fine. We could say that. Wu Tai would be BRICS, and then I don't know what Sephiroth would be. Sephiroth is Lindsey Graham.
I don't know nearly enough about Final Fantasy to confirm or deny. What I will say, though, is that if you want a hard-hitting game that's actually real-world rooted, Deus Ex. Fucking great. Deus Ex is so fucking good, yo.
Or you know what? Watch Dogs is a real world game that's good. The guy's basically an anarchist. He's an anarchist, a hacker anarchist.
Yes, I've played 1 and 2.
Whose son dies. I haven't played 2.
2 is great. 2, like, 1 is like the white guy anarchist experience. 2 is the black guy anarchist experience. So, but like Deus Ex, you play in a future that was controlled by the technocrats, the Illuminati. All of these groups are real, and I started out with Deus Ex Human Revolution. I didn't start out with the first one. Perhaps I should have, but I started out with Deus Ex Human Revolution, and basically, it started to sink in, because at first the game was already talking about the Illuminati, and I was like, oh shit, motherfucker, this is actually gonna talk about real world conspiracies. Holy shit. And I saw these things pop up on the screen about all these little things that I've been seeing coming for a long time, and I'm like, this game is going to fuck me up. And so then I get into like one of the areas, and a radio guy is over there, and I'm like, that guy sounds like he's yelling about politics. I want to go listen to what he says. So I go hiding under a desk and just listen to this guy. He's Lazarus. It's fucking excellent.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking excellent because he's talking about the Bilderberg Group, about the Trilateral Commission, about real world shit that if people actually pay attention, they'll fucking get woke in a right way. They'll get woke in an actual way that like pushes them toward wanting to burn shit down. And then I play the other ones. There's a speech that Leo gives in the top of the Statue of Liberty. It's so fucking good, yo. In fact, let me see if I can find all of what he says, because if I can, I think I can share my screen and we can just play this.
Then we'll call it there. Yeah, because I know Noah is tired. Noah, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm looking up the synopsis for Deus Ex.
So fucking good, yo.
Noah's an anarcho schizoid, but he's a pluralist too. He likes all forms of anarchy.
Oh,
So,
we're
hey,
Facebook friends.
yeah, there's 4 of us. We're the 4 horsemen of the anarchist apocalypse.
Wait, who's the 4th one?
Keith.
Oh shit.
So,
Because I'm down for all forms of anarchy. I'm actually even more chill than Jeremy. I argue with people all the time. Anarchists can be trans. They can use AI. They can, be. They can have communal ownership. They can be capitalist. They can be or be free market. They can be primitivists. As long as you're not aggressing on your fellow man, you're cool.
All right, I'm reading this. The plot of Deus Ex depicts a society on a slow spiral into chaos. There's a massive division between the rich and the poor, not only socially, but in some cities physically. World Economic Forum, anybody?
yep.
A lethal pandemic known as the Great Death ravages the world's population, especially within the United States, and has no cure. The synthetic vaccine, Ambrosia, manufactured by the company VersaLife, nullifies the effects of the virus but is in critically short supply. Because of its scarcity, Ambrosia is available only to those deemed vital to the social order. Is there any real world example of this?
Yeah, right.
No, I'm asking. I'd like to hear a real world example.
Oh, I mean, monoclonal antibodies and all the shit that actually worked against COVID that were only really like accessible to the rich because they weren't considered viable treatments, which means that they were not something that you could get on government health care.
Right.
So, all right. This should give you an idea of what you're dealing with. Share screen, entire screen, screen 2.
All right, play it.
Don't shoot. I surrender.
So you think you know better than FEMA what to do with this month's Ambrosia shipment?
You're too late. It's on its way back to the people, and you can't do a damn thing about it.
Tell me about the shipment, and I'll order the troops to pick you up as a prisoner instead of a corpse.
Ask away. We already won this round.
Where are you taking it?
We're just giving ordinary people the same chance to survive as the bureaucrats in Washington.
You'll have to unload in New York because the choppers would spot you at sea.
I think the government made the plague on purpose to get rid of the population growth.
Well done. I will pass on your orders to the troopers. Report back to base on the west side of the island. Mission complete.
Come on, keep talking.
Just answer the question.
Don't believe me? It's all in the numbers. For 100 years, there's been a conspiracy of plutocrats against ordinary people.
You have a single fact to back that up?
Number 1, in 1945, corporations paid 50% of federal taxes. Now they pay about 5%. Number 2, in 1900, 90% of Americans were self-employed. Now it's about 2%.
So?
It's called consolidation. Strengthen governments and corporations, weaken individuals. With taxes, this can be done imperceptibly over time.
Theft, coercion, extortion.
Nothing to brag about, buddy.
I guarantee you that the interrogation staff at UNACO will not be as forbearing as I am.
Yeah.
Wait, is someone else in the chat?
You're just bullies for a completely illegitimate government in Washington.
We will locate that shipment one way or another.
The entire executive branch is handpicked. 19 of the last 23 U.S. presidents have been members of the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is financed by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Don't tell me.
That's a think tank. Anyone can become a member.
But not everyone does. That's why they call it the secret government. You can't fight ideas with bullets.
I don't have enough.
So that's
Wait, was
part of
that
it.
voice from the YouTube video?
Yes.
Oh, I thought they were responding to me, and I got freaked out for a moment.
All right. Yeah. Well, that is Deus Ex.
All right,
How do you
I'll have to. I gotta do some research on the old money family's relation to the Trilateral Commission.
Oh yeah, you'll find a lot of Trilateral, Bilderberg. I find it funny when
I mean,
people like Klaus
I
Schwab.
don't think the developers would be bullshitting us.
Yeah. And like, let me see just real quick before we leave. Deus Ex Lazarus.
It's like, hey, people are not self-employed anymore. It's like, yeah, so
All right, so I'm not going to play this whole thing because it's 22 minutes total, and really people should buy the game Human Revolution. But I can share my screen again, and we can watch exactly some of Lazarus, so y'all can know. I mean, Kareem's just going to say that that's just you, because it's going to sound exactly like me, including the overly angry fucking... Yeah. So
I'm a
I'll put
hedgehog.
Okay.
I'll put this on 1.5.
Holy shit! Jeffrey Epstein was a member of the Trilateral Commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
So
Jesus fucking Christ!
entire screen. Yeah. See, this is the thing. I know about this shit, and so when this game started to say it, I was like, ha 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 ha! This game was made for people like me. Okay. So, I'm sharing my
The only
screen.
way you can get it out these days because you can't put it in movies.
With me is by online interactive streaming. We'll stream you through and answer your questions as best we can, but don't get your panties in a bunch if you get hung up on. If we detect even the slightest suspicious fluctuation in signal, we have to shut you down. The World Order and their team of expert hackers could be trying to track us, and that's why we have to create a covert host site for every new stream and then shut it down immediately once the call's over. I'm sitting here, just me and my techie Steve in a sweaty, clammy, claustrophobic van, tossing digipads out in the trash left and right in order to bring you the show via satellite. But I'm good with it. I'm good with it because I understand the reality of living in a slave state. You can bet they'll keep trying to shut us down, but I won't stop, followers. I will not stop until there is a full-scale revolt in progress. You hear what I'm saying, people? You okay, Steve? Good. I just got off the phone with a mother from Florida who confirmed what most of us already know, but I want to share it with you anyway. They're doing drills, followers. FEMA is doing drills with our children and not even telling us. They're taking our kids to these secret camps that have been springing up everywhere across the country and not even telling the parents. Oh, what are these drills for? Well, they're to introduce them to the future. REX 84 is the future. The ADEX list is the future. They're saying, here you go, children. This is what happens when you speak up against corruption, Teddy. This is what you get for demanding the truth, Georgie. This is what happens when you don't lie down and take it in the ass from the international banking cartel, Tracy, and you don't follow the biased doctrine of Picus and the slut puppet Eliza Kazan. Billy, that's right, Billy, you gullible little bastard. You will be put in a cat for an indeterminate amount of time, Billy. Get comfy, kids. We're talking augmentations, and how by not allowing us to have them, they are essentially stripping our ability to defend ourselves away from us. Now, followers, don't stream me now and start saying, but Lazarus, augmentations are legal. Why, my cousin Dooney just got one the other day. Not for long, fucknob. Not if this UN resolution goes through. Not with the Bilderbergs, the Council of Five, and the Trilateral Commission making the rules. You can add humanity right to that list because they're the ones with their evil overlord Bill Taggart, who disguises himself as a healer of the sick. They're the ones who are pushing for this resolution. This is all by design, followers. They're gonna drop a police state on your ass faster than you can say fucking, I don't know, neuropazine. But I digress. The topic du jour is separatist terrorists. Listen, I have no love for the Secesh, but let's raise some real tangible truth here, followers. This is not about the separatist movement. Give me a break. California is the reason we have augmented super soldiers roaming the streets? Utah is the reason FEMA could drop you in a concentration camp anytime they feel like? Have you so quickly forgotten they did this in the Cold War to protect you from the commies? Then after 9/11 to protect your ass from that phantasm, Bin Laden. Remember that guy? So now what? To protect you from the Mormons? These are fear tactics, plain and simple. They want you to be afraid of your neighbors. Another false flag in a long line of false flags that have been thrown up since World War I when the banks, government, and military production industry realized, hot tamale, we can make truckloads of money off this war shit. How do we make some more? Come on, people, wake up. We're talking about consequence here, parents. Go ahead and plop your kids in front of the TV. Let them watch Picus or let them get lost in their video games. Yeah, they'll be safe in their little virtual world. Don't worry, kids. Nobody can hurt you in a video game. Focus on that little fantasy universe because let me tell you something. You won't want to come out of your virtual cell and see the real world in a couple of years. Nah, it won't be pretty. You'll still be slaves like the rest of us, but at least you'll be oblivious. Bunch of mindless zombies is what you are. I almost envy you. Fucking sad is what it is. We're talking about Eliza Kazan's frank interview with Zhao Yunru. Frank. What a fucking fun. Say, Steve, Picus should have advertised it like this.
So, okay. You get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah, Kareem's just over here like, did Jeremy stop talking? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it does sound like you. I mean, I don't. I agree with that.
I think Alex Jones was the inspiration for that character.
Yeah. Like, but okay, so y'all know what REX 84 is?
Rex 84.
Yeah.
No.
Rex 84 is readiness exercise 84, and it's a thing that the FEMA like documents authorize fucking rounding up dissidents in times of emergency. It's a protocol that basically says that if you're on a list during a time they declare emergency, they can just come round you up. They can take you out of the picture before you become too much of a resistant. That's a real thing that this game just dropped on people, and most people are going to play through the game and they're not going to give a shit because Lazarus is right. They're oblivious. But Rex 84 is a real thing, and most people have no fucking clue what Rex 84 is because they're not willing to look into this stuff. They're not willing to like stop and listen to Lazarus. They probably turn off the radio when they have the opportunity in the game so that they don't have to hear him speak because they just want to play the fun, cool cyber game and they don't give a shit about the message. But like ultimately, Lazarus has so many fucking nuggets of knowledge. I can't play the full thing because first off, again, it's 22 minutes of that. And then second off, I don't want to spoil the game. But Lazarus continually updates you with filler information about like the plot of the game and what's going on. And he connects it to things that are happening now. I mean, the now that was like a decade ago at this point, but like, you know, I mean, really now, even now. And this is that's why I like that franchise because they do not they keep it real. And you know, they say that it was a coding error that they didn't have enough space for some reason for the files for the skybox. But hey, they future-proofed their game because it came out before 9/11 and the Twin Towers weren't in the New York skyline. So take that for what you will.
Oh boy. No, this reminds me of the predictive program theory.
Yeah.
But
See,
there's
like that,
there's no way they could have possibly known that there weren't going to be any more Twin Towers after the year 2001.
yeah. Well, see, that's my thing, right? That my favorite conspiracy related game franchise is Deus Ex. Hands the fuck down. No exceptions.
Right.
Like, if I have to go, like, MGS has some good shit to say. Splinter Cell has some good shit to say. All Tom Clancy games, to be honest. But Deus Ex is talking about shit that you can research.
Yeah.
If somebody actually wants to like know about this shit, you can listen to Lazarus. It's like that 22 minutes of just nothing but him speaking. That's a vlog everyone should listen to. Everyone should listen to it. Everyone should listen to it now if you already played the game and didn't listen to that. And you should play the game because not only that, but all these little files you can read in the game and all these little like tidbits and the people you can talk to and the fact that you literally have a choice to either support or attack the Illuminati at the end of the first game. It's fucking excellent.
I will say, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, that's one of the most accurate things I've ever seen. Still next to Assassin's Creed, though.
Well, I think when you play this game and you see all the shit and you're in the grit with it and you realize that it's not just like Leo in the top of the Statue of Liberty, but everything about the first game, the second game, Human Revolution, The Fall, you know, like it's all excellent. All of it. And it all has just so much just like screw in potential for like if somebody researches this shit that this game talks about, They will be putting on the glasses from They Live, and they will never see anything the same. Never. If a normie actually looks into what this game talks about, they might be an anarchist by the end of it, and might want to throw some Molotovs. Deus Ex is so fucking good. And it's cynical, and it's dirty, and the government is corrupt, and the police are brutal, and everybody's dying, and the city is terrible, and it's greasy and drug infested, and there are whores. It's fucking. I'm a cynical asshole. It appeals to my soul.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Anyway, now that I'm done depressing people,
Well, we're going to still defeat the elites and save the world.
maybe, but we have to recognize the potential that we are not winning if we're going to do that, because the first step, as Frank Herbert put it in Dune, the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence.
I can agree to that.
Got to be realistic and rational about the grounds on which we lie.
That makes sense.
And that's why I like the Sonic franchise, because it's very good at like all of this stuff, but speaking in incredibly easy to understand terms. And like they talk about all this stuff too, but they talk about it through metaphor. And so like it's a good way to philosophically ground yourself. If you play, and ironically, I mean maybe not ironically, maybe fittingly, the Sonic and Deus Ex Twitter routinely support each other. So I think that even they know there's something to that.
I like the combination of when it comes to media, that even though it has terrible acting, we live with Rodney Piper, that take the sunglasses off, eat, consume, all that stuff. I think Silent Hill does a good job with the elites, and I think Assassin's Creed does a good job, the Templars versus the anarchists, even though they call them assassins. But I really like, when I really like the Ezio Auditore da Firenze and him fighting against the Medici's and the Pope and all that type of stuff, and then how there's the Apple of Eden created by sophisticated alien technologies, which could have been the Anunnaki, and then people are fighting. One thinks they need to control humanity, and one thinks they don't. So those are all good games too. I'm looking through all that stuff, and there's other games that have subtle hints, even like Mario Party. Waluigi says, well, to be fair, it's funny because not Waluigi. Yeah, Waluigi, the evil Luigi says, "Oh, a tax office. Wow, this is a great legal way to steal funds." So it's not like they're overtly. It's not an overtly political game, obviously, but like even Nintendo is like, haha, like taking a jab, like, "Oh yeah, tax office, cool."
Okay, well then you would like the plot line of an episode of Sonic X, where after destroying part of the moon, Eggman rebuilds that part of the moon as a humanitarian project to apologize for his missteps, in massive quotes. So the David Icke style problem reaction solution model, right? And then after doing that, the solution is manufactured in order to benefit the elites, right? That's the David Icke sort of, Ordo Ab Chao model. So what happens? Well, suddenly Eggman spikes in popularity because while the moon is being reconstructed and then recalibrated so that there's a massive eclipse all of a sudden. Whoops, we'll figure this out any day now. But there's no sunlight getting to Earth because it's a 24-hour constant eclipse. And so he gives everyone on Earth Eggman Industry fucking sunlight orbs. He sells their sunlight back to them. And that's evil enough already, right? But turns out that these weren't just sunlight orbs, they were also transmitting a mind control signal so that these people were on board with his agenda, and were becoming his vassals, and were like literally running around in Eggman merch and shit like that. Because the politicians, when they control industry and the media and everything else, suddenly they're able to generate a cult of personality. And Sonic doesn't like what he sees, and so he starts going around and destroying them. All the sunlight generators, all the transmitting stations for the sunlight generators, and he becomes an international terrorist that the government is chasing down and trying to kill. Um, and everybody involved in the pursuit includes like his previous allies. And they corner him at the last transmitter station, and he explains to them, all of them, that actually this makes no fucking sense, because if the moon was moving normally, it would still pass out from between the sun and Earth. So clearly it's being held in place by something, and it must be Eggman's modifications to the moon thrusting it into place. And he says, quote, "This is nothing more than a dirty rich quick scheme." And he destroys the final generator, and suddenly the mind control evaporates, and it's very much like the end of They Live. um and everybody realizes they got duped, and Eggman is the actual terrorist, and Sonic is let go by the military and police apparatus that had basically the entire world's military and police all converged on his location.
What was the name of the episode?
So I think Sunlight Solution, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
I saw that look of doubt on your face. Sonic, an international terrorist. Yeah, they called him that.
Oh, Sunblock Solution.
Sunblock Solution. Yeah, there you go.
I will say I like Sonic because I learned about animals I didn't know existed. Like, what the fuck is an echidna?
Anteater.
Although I don't feel Knuckles looks exactly like an anteater, but
He
Does
doesn't need to. None of the characters look exactly like they do. But the point is
well,
that
Tails
an
looks like a fox.
an anteater has like, long spikes coming off of it. And so it like simulates that with his dreadlocks. And they also have like weird knuckles on the end of their hands. And so that's what he has. And he uses his to climb. And so he does look enough like an actual echidna.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to Sonic Apologism with Jeremiah. But yeah, like that series has like just so much actual philosophical grounding and real world anti-government messaging, and I don't think it gets enough credit in anarchist circles for what it's actually doing. Because, like, for instance, Samuel Konkin, he was big into using sci-fi to try and get libertarian messages across, and Sonic does that. Just people need to actually pay attention to Sonic. It has messages against the corruption of democracy. It has messages against the rise of fascism. It has messages against the corruption of technology, and also the hysteria against certain technology. You would probably appreciate quite a lot of it, but that would involve reading the Sonic comics, and most people don't want to read like 1,000+ comics in order to catch up on cartoon animal lore, so they're not going to. But
Yeah.
it's all good. So,
And Sonic's a status because every time you turn on your Sega, it's like, don't do it.
um,
I don't know
or
why this.
that's what he's saying to Robotnik.
Shadow is kind of a status, though.
Shadow ends up working for the literal military and intelligence industrial complex, but he started out tearing it down because there was a massive government cover up of a thing where he was used as a test subject.
Plus, they killed a child.
And hey, benefits. The new movie with Shadow is getting a PG-12 rating overseas already, which means that there might actually be a chance that they'll be murdering a child in front of a kid audience on screen. Which good, because those kids should get the same thing I got when I was a kid. A murdered child.
There you go.
Because that's what gets you angry at these people. They should get the same anger. The whole point of Shadow's character is that he's fighting a corrupt government, and you got to see that corruption firsthand.
Actually, that would help in the Israel-Palestine situation. I think that's why people are finally turning on, because they're like, for a long time, they're just like, eh. And they're like, oh, wait, what's going on? Now there's phones and stuff. They're like, oh, wow, this is happening? Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Either way, though.
How you doing now?
I'm on Reddit on the r/anarchism forum, and it's about anarchist video games. And someone said, well, Castlevania is about a guy breaking into a castle and horsewhipping an aristocrat. So there's that.
Yeah.
Someone recommended
Alucard, like, I'm an anarchist.
The Deus Ex games are pretty solid.
Yeah, he comes in, he's like, hey, Dracula, instead of being an aristocrat, do you want to start a syndicalist commune? He's like, sure do, sir.
You should reply to that they need to make Castlevania, but with Jesus and the Money Changers. Christovania.
Christovania. Joe Olstein's the last boss. All right, you'll never get me, Christ. I got my Tesla and my Dodge Viper.
You just finish out the game by reaching in through his unholy mouth where he preaches falsely, and reaching in through the back of his head and pulling out his spine like a Mortal Kombat finisher.
Actually, speaking of Mortal Kombat, I was joking with some people. I said, you know what? Ed Boon probably talked to Jacob Rothschild or the Queen of England to get the inspiration for Reptile. That, I guess, that has to perceive that you believe in reptilian beings.
But either way,
reptilian theory makes one paranoid. I used to suspect that my parents and other people in my life were secretly lizard people plotting my downfall.
Biden's a lizard person.
Well, either way, you two can finish the call. Like, I feel like I've dominated it also. I've got things that I need to take care of. But y'all can finish the call and talk about something maybe other than Sonic and Deus Ex.
We could do Castlevania, Jesus-vania.
Yeah. This will be what you do with the rest of the episode. You'll be developing that game. You'll be developing Christovania.
Sell it on Anarchy. Sell it on Steam. Who's the developer? Anarchy Unity.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm reading this. Definitely, Metal Gear is loaded with anti-state and anti-capitalist messages. To me, the overarching plot revolves around characters, including the player with all the clever meta stuff becoming disillusioned and dealing with it in different ways. And the song Here's to You for Snake and Otacon was originally a tribute to two anarchists who were sentenced to death in the 1920s.
Not surprised.
Also, someone said, however, while the main antagonist, Big Boss, did create a new stateless society, in a way it was still very hierarchical. Not to mention it was also a literal private military company.
Either way, you two have a good night with the rest of the episode. And
sorry about that. I'm getting tired. I'm going to go to bed.
Okay. Well, then I guess we're all heading on.
Ready to wrap it up.
We had 2 good live streams today. This is Green with the Essential Libertarians. Special guest, Noah Starling, Anarcho Schizoid, and Sandy is Free from Anarch Unity. Come check us out in our articles, AgNex, and the Free State Project. We'll catch you next time.